Good evening and welcome to the August 17th Clearwater City Council meeting. If you wish to address the council this evening on items either on the agenda or not on the agenda, please fill out a card from our clerk and please keep your comments to 3 minutes. Okay, we'd like to invite up the Reverend Matt Wallace from First United Methodist Church of Clearwater for the invocation. Please stand and then remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Let us pray. Gracious, wise, and loving God, thank you for your abundant blessings. Thank you for life, for the measure of health we need to fulfill our callings, for sustenance and for friendship. Thank you for the ability to be involved in useful work and for the honor of bearing appropriate responsibilities. I pray for the mayor, the city council, and the various levels of city officials. I'm asked that you would graciously grant them wisdom to govern amid conflicting interests and issues of our times, a sense of welfare and true needs of our people, a keen thirst for justice and rightness, confidence in what is good and fitting, the ability to work together in harmony even when there is honest disagreement, personal peace in their lives and joy in their task. I pray for the agenda set before them today and those who will speak before this council. Please give an assurance of what would please you and what would benefit those who live and work in and around our beloved city of Clearwater. It is in your most blessed name I pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Pastor Wallace. He was a last-minute substitution. We had a cancellation, so he pinch hit. I appreciate you doing that on short notice. I'm sure everyone was pleased to hear you instead of hearing me give the invocation, so thank you for that. Okay, we have special recognitions and awards. We have 2 5-year employee awards. If I could have Nicholas Esposito from the Fire Department, please come forward.
Thank you for your 5 years.
Congratulations. Thank you.
Thank you for your service.
Thank you. Got your hands full now. Yes, sir. Congratulations.
Our next 5-year award doesn't have to come forward, but why don't you come down the front? Jennifer Poirier, our city manager, 5 years. Watch the bump. Watch the bump there.
Well, nice working with you.
Congratulations.
Thanks for your service. Yes.
Okay, we have a 20-year employee, and that is Frida Dixon from Parks and Recreation. Please come forward.
Frida Dixon began her career with the City of Clearwater as a recreation programmer in 2003 at the North Greenwood Rec Complex. In 2011, she transferred to Ross Norton Rec Complex as a recreation coordinator. Frida is a force of nature. She oversees the after-school and summer programs at Ross Norton, from planning, scheduling, and leading youth activities to communicating and supporting parents. She even drives the van to pick up children, purchases supplies, and ensures every child in her program knows how special and awesome they are. Frida has worked very hard to build trust and strong lines of communication with parents and families in the community. In fact, the local elementary school asked to be included in Frida's events because she is able to reach parents that they cannot. This trust has resulted in the program's ability to connect children and families with much-needed resources, including educational tutors, dental checkups, mental health counseling, and so much more. Frida is the first volunteer for extra duties or after-hours programming, especially if it will help with the children. She leads by example and mentors staff, taking time to teach new skills and encouraging them to further their education. Frida has received many accolades over her tenure with the city. However, one stands out above the others. In 2021, Frida was the first employee from the City of Clearwater to receive the prestigious Kids First Cooperman Bogue Award from the Juvenile Welfare Board. This award recognizes outstanding social service professionals who work tirelessly to put children first and make a difference in the lives of Pinellas County children and their families. Frida's contribution to the City of Clearwater and its citizens is immeasurable. She has positively impacted and helped strengthen both the North Greenwood and Ross Norton communities by providing quality youth and programs and caring for each child in those programs. For the past few years, Frida has earned her camp program Awesome, which is exactly what Frida is, awesome. Thank you.
Thank you for everything.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. Thank you, sir.
Congratulations, Frida. Now we have our August 2023 Employee of the Month from Public Works, Jillian Sparks. Please come forward.
All right. Jillian Sparks is the aquatic coordinator at the Long Center. Jillian oversees swim lessons and aquatic programs year-round. This year, Jillian went above and beyond the normal swim lesson program to coordinate a water safety program for 4 local elementary schools. In this program, children were bused to a City of Clearwater pool during their regular PE time for a period of 2 weeks. The children were provided with basic water safety lessons as well as swim lessons. Over 1,000 children participated in this program. Jillian took the lead and scheduled staff, developed the lessons, communicated with the teachers, developed an assessment tool, and kept excellent records. This program consumed 8 weeks of her time, but Jillian never complained or let up on her other duties. Thanks to Jillian's efforts, children, some who have never been to a pool before, were taught skills that could potentially save their lives. Thank you for being such a great employee and ambassador for the City of Clearwater. Thank you. That's incredible.
Thank you, Jillian, thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Congratulations to Jillian again. Please give her another round of applause. Okay, I was remiss in not introducing the dais up here. Senior moment. To my far right, 5-year employee, Jennifer Poirier.
Good evening.
Next to her is Councilmember Kathleen Beckman.
Good evening.
Next to me, on the right, is Vice Mayor Mark Bunker.
Good evening.
On the immediate left is Councilmember Lena Teixeira.
Good evening.
Next to her is Councilmember David Albritton.
Good evening.
And next to him is our attorney, David Margolis.
Good evening.
Okay, do we have an approval of the minutes from the last council meeting?
Motion to approve the minutes?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Thank you. Now time for citizens. Have you heard regarding items that are not on tonight's agenda, not on the agenda?
I'm Mr. Haluba, and I aggravate the thin-skinned Mr. Ongst. Mark Twain said politicians and diapers must be changed often for the very same reason. Mr. Ongst, as an unelected city official, you're very similar to a dirty diaper.
You're out of order, Mr. Halubi. That's your first warning. You get one more warning, and then you
Thrown out soon.
will be asked to be removed.
Any of the present office holders planning on running for re-election or mayor, the analogy applies as well. Once again, as we saw with the wrongful Jennifer appointment, the city thinks that, the only option for police chief was Eric Gandy. It's not true. The best option would be to close Clearwater Police down entirely, and that remains the best option. Mr. Ongst, your civility and decorum campaign is in some ways proof of, you being a little bit scared, I guess. Somebody might say or do something I don't like. Boo-hoo, Mr. Ongst, boo-hoo.
Ha-ha.
Both Ongst and Mr. Margulies, by even contemplating these decorum rules, are in violation of their pledge to defend and uphold the U.S. Constitution. I believe unless this asinine affront to the First Amendment is not abandoned immediately, our city will find itself several rotations closer to going down the drain. The name's at the bottom of that.
All right, you're out of order. Please shut the cameras down. We're in recess.
You're out of order.
You're out of order. City Council meeting. Hopefully we'll have a little more civilized comments, but please, next item, not on the agenda.
Okay, good evening, Council. I think you'll enjoy my presentation more. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Council, and City leadership. My name is Dan McDonald. I'm a resident of Station Square and owner of McDonald Real Estate Photography. They say a picture is worth 1,000 words, but sometimes a picture is also worth thousands of hours. In this case, tens of thousands of hours and decades in planning. That's the dedication of our City of Clearwater team. I had the privilege of capturing the hard work, time, and talent that went into rebuilding Potion Park in one split second, which you see in front of you. Tonight, I'm honored to share with you the awe-inspiring beauty of our new Potion Park with this photo taken on July the 4th. Your leadership and our community created a new vision for downtown, one that's vibrant and dynamic, and the city executed that vision with a park we can all take pride in, and one of the reasons I moved here 2 years ago from Pasco County. Please enjoy this gift on behalf of all City of Clearwater residents for now and generations to come, and I'm hoping to make this photo available for sale with all proceeds going to benefit arts and culture for the children in our community. Thank you again for your leadership, and I'm honored to call Clearwater my home. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We appreciate that very much. Very nice picture.
We have photos for all of you.
Dan.
Thank you.
Thank you. So that's him. Okay.
Yeah, it's a beautiful picture.
Thank you very much.
Approved by Mr. Margolis.
Good.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you.
But it was be over the limit, so, yes, so, gotta do the limit.
Thank you again. Very nice. We appreciate it. Anyone else for items not on tonight's agenda?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor.
Good evening.
Council members and city staff. Very opportune time for me to speak on a subject that came up at the work session on Monday, which was decorum in the city council chamber meeting. Perhaps it's not necessary for me to speak because of the action was just taken, but I still want to take up my time and do speak. Quite frankly, the obscene gesture that was displayed at the swearing-in of our new chief of police was an embarrassment to myself as a resident of Clearwater, as well as many other residents who spoke to me, as well as offensive to the occasion for him and his family, and it should never be tolerated. Disagreement is always acceptable, but it can be done in a civil manner. There is no need to attack people personally for their positions or their integrity or their motivation. You can do it in a very civil manner, and these are the differences that will be on display here at the council meeting. After that incident that happened with respect to the gesture, I was reminded of the city council rules that we have already. These were given to me a few years ago, and I've kept it in my folder each time. It is actually defined as an amendment, Resolution 19-27, adopted on August 14th, 2019, City Council Rules. It is rule number 15, Rules of Conduct. And is very comprehensive with respect to the rules of conduct for a civil meeting to discuss and disagree on issues. I would like to suggest that it might require some amendment or strengthening. It does not have to be redone completely, as may have been suggested at the work session. In particular, it needs to be amended to not allow any political statements whatsoever by any means at a council meeting. The purpose of this meeting is not for a political demonstration. Speaking, actions, or gestures of a vulgar or obscene or racist nature should never be allowed. The chair has the responsibility of maintaining order at this chamber. For that reason, he may choose to admonish an individual verbally to cease and desist with her conduct, as was done tonight, or he may elect to enforce that concern by having the person physically removed from the meeting for this evening, because that cannot be tolerated nor allowed to occur. It offends us that are in the audience. It offends other residents that are watching on television. It offends yourselves as members of the city staff as well as the council, and should never be tolerated. There is a civil way to disagree and to conduct yourself, and perhaps some people need to be reminded of that by the chair. It is the chair's responsibility to maintain order and decorum here, and he has to have the means available to do that. I encourage him to do it, and I wanted to speak. Thank you and good night.
Thank you, sir.
My name is Freddie Gao. I'm a member of the CWA, the Communication Workers of America, and I'm here to stand in solidarity with my siblings within the city of Clearwater. I've recently had the pleasure of meeting with so many of the workers here within the city in response to the recent Senate Bill 256. The workers here are more than just the streets, the buildings, the gas and the water. They're the blood of the city. It's sad to say, though, that the men and women who work hard each day to keep the city running, and as beautiful it is, are underappreciated and undercompensated for the hard labor that they do. The departments like gas, water, and solid waste deal directly with hazardous materials on a regular basis and are considered essential workers, but they don't get compensated accordingly. During times of crisis, they don't receive anything additional for risking their lives day after day for all of us. A number of city workers can't even afford to live in the city that they care for. Some of them travel over an hour each direction every day to come here and work, and they just can't afford the rents here. In a city that seems so nice, it's heartbreaking to hear that so many people only want fair treatment of wages, and their voices are silent from fear. Fear from retaliation from the city itself, to lose the things that they've already been given, and fear that time and time again their voices will go unheard and their concerns go unaddressed. And I just want to say that despite of the recent attacks on public unions, the workers of Clearwater stand together and remind you city council members that it's your job and your duty to listen to their concerns and please act on them. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello,
council members. My name is Peyton Hoey, and I'm a proud organizer for CWA Local 3179. I've spent the last 2 weeks meeting with our public workers in Clearwater and discussing the working conditions that they're facing with them. Each story is different, but the sentiments are the same. Our city workers feel undervalued, underpaid, and unsafe. So many have told me that they're proud of their work, some dedicating 20+ years of their life to it. Workers make this city beautiful run, from keeping our award-winning beach trash-free to keeping the gas, water, and power flowing into our homes. And it is anything but unreasonable to ask to be compensated fairly, especially in unsafe working conditions. When there are gas leaks, gas workers are called to the scene at the same time that EMTs and firefighters are called in. It's dangerous work, it's crucially important work, and it's brave work. And it's work that must be compensated fairly. Unlike the council that sits before me, our dedicated city workers did not get a 63% raise for this coming year. You recognize the staggering inflation rates. I think it's 7.3% in the last year. And you yourselves, again, have chose to raise your pay. It's only fair that the essential workers that have dedicated their lives to the city receive what they have asked for as well. I want you to look at this room, to look at the many red shirts and the black shirts mixed in. The people that took time out of their nights to be here, despite starting work tomorrow as early as 5 or 6 a.m., some earlier, some working all night. Many of these are your constituents, and they are watching your actions as we speak. And many are afraid to speak in fear of retaliation. So I ask you, will you side with the people who make this city run? And again, despite the ongoing attacks against public sector unions by the state of Florida, we are standing here united and strong as ever. And I want to remind you that as city council members, it is your job to listen to our concerns and to act on them. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Jason Wallace. I worked for the city for 20 years. For over them 20 years of my life, 20 years, we still don't have decent wage. The cost of living is skyrocketed. The people who make this city bright and beauty to the blade have to fight for crumbs. In fact, y'all gave yourself a raise. Why can't I get one? We demand safe, fair wages and respect. Thank you.
I would like to start out by introducing myself. My name is Denny. I've been a proud union member for CWA for the last 10 years. I'm speaking on behalf of the city workers today in an effort to bring light to some issues they face on a daily basis. Safety is number one on that list. You have gas technicians working on live transit systems and not receiving any form of compensation to do such. To me, this is outlandish. While the fire department sits back getting hazard pay to wait while the gas technicians arrive. It's wrong. They put their life at risk to make sure the city is safe. Second issue is racism, sexism, and ageism. The age, sex, or race of an employee who works hard to make this city run shouldn't be a topic. I have to even mention it in today's society, but here I am. It's disgusting. Acts should be taken to make these employees feel safe in their work environments, not singled out and in fear to even return to their workplace. And lastly, compensation. You're pricing the workers out of the city they care for daily. But you can afford some new innovative garbage cans. You can afford to raise your compensation. When will workers get a fair shake? CWA is much bigger than just the city, and our reach is equally as far. Remember when elections come around, because I promise the workforce will. If you don't help change the environment in which they work, we will change you. Remember, you work for us.
Stephen Sarnoff, 1417 Normandy Park Drive, Clearwater, Florida.
Mr.
start off 1 second. You have an extra minute, Javon Thomas.
Yes, right behind me.
Oh, okay, so you understand you're giving up your time so he can speak? Yes, ma'am. Okay, so that's
Thank you.
4 minutes.
Thank you very much. Good evening, council members. Well, I never thought I'd be standing here before you again. When I retired, I thought, I've done my job, I've served my members, I've helped negotiate the best contracts we could get from the city. And I said to myself, job well done. I guess not. Here I am. I served the city faithfully from 1988 till 2015. And most of those years I served as president of Local 3179. I sat across the bargaining table from your representatives, from your predecessors' representatives, and negotiated with them in good faith to attempt to give my people, my members, my brothers and sisters, the best salaries and benefits we could accomplish. And some years we accomplish that, and most years we don't. It's a new world with new skill sets. When I started, many of our people were considered to be semi-skilled. But we worked with the city, developed training programs. We learned how to promote from within, to give people the incentive to make a career of the city, not get a job with the city and the first time you can make $1 more an hour, you quit and leave and go work someplace else, and take all the training with you that the citizens of Clearwater paid for. Another thing, a reminder, our union is responsible for the city's dynamic change in 1977. You know, people forget that Clearwater is a southern city. It was guilty of the same crimes that any other southern city suffered from time immemorial. People of color not allowed to swim any place else but Stevenson's Creek near the waste treatment plant. Couldn't swim at Clearwater Beach. Okay? Before my union and a union contract, the city discriminated against workers. If you were white, you could be considered a full-time employee with benefits and even be part of the pension plan. If you were black, you were constantly considered to be a seasonal part-time employee. Whether you worked for the city for 30 years, it didn't matter. The color of your skin kept you from being considered full-time. In fact, there was a famous lawsuit in 1985 against the city for that practice that, you know, did bring some equality, some justice to people. Our union has a proud history in Clearwater. We've worked well with the city. I felt that we've worked cooperatively. We led the city in many things. We've always been an active labor management pioneer, you might say. We changed the disciplinary system from the old point system, the old gaming system, to one that was proactive, that we looked to build careers. We learned how to train people. We learned how to guide people. We listened to people. Many of our managers came up within the ranks of the city. And that's where that was the goal. That's always been the goal. Clearwater, again, couldn't afford the biggest salaries, but they definitely could provide a decent, honest workplace. And currently, things have deteriorated, obviously. Salaries are not keeping up. You're creating hardships for people. Because remember, one of the reasons why we exist as a workforce is to be here at the critical times. You saw what happened down in Cape Coral and in Fort Myers Beach, right? In Clearwater, you have a workforce far superior to that. You're not going to have to go searching for us. We're not running away. We're not going to go to the highest bidder. We have a commitment to you, and we'll never forget that. You have a commitment to us. God bless.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Am I good to begin?
Yes.
Hello, my name is Ali Abdelkader. I'm here as a member of the Party for Socialism and Liberation, and also to speak out in support of the Communication Workers of America here in Clearwater. You know, I think you've heard from many of the workers themselves who have told you just how vital their work is to keeping the city running. It's true, the city would not be able to run without its public workers. The beaches would not be able to be, accessible to tourists, the drinking water would not be running, the gas lines would not be running. These workers truly do make the city run. There is no city without them, and it is truly evident that in the last few years, the costs of living for all of these workers has gone up an incredible amount, and their wages have not risen commensurate to that. And they have not risen commensurate to the risks that they have been putting themselves in from the beginning of the pandemic, where, of course, they were essential workers, they were going to work, to still today, where people are working in hazardous working conditions, but they aren't being paid commensurate to those hazards, and they aren't being paid commensurate really to the true value that they provide to this city. And it's important to remember that, again, these workers make the city run. Without these workers, the city would not run. So these workers really, in the end, hold the ultimate bargaining power, which is their labor. And this country, all throughout the country, we are seeing a massive resurgence in the power of labor. Teamsters just negotiated a record contract with UPS, threatening to strike. We saw the UCs go on strike. We have the actors and screenwriters on strike right now. It's important to remember that this could, ultimately, it could happen here. It could. And again, I'm not a CWA worker. I'm not affiliated with the union. I'm just a supporter, and I'm just here to say that labor has power, and it's time that our public officials and really all sectors of society respect that power and give labor what it is due. Thank you.
Anyone else on items not on the agenda, not on tonight's agenda?
It's a safety issue.
Please identify yourself for the record.
Clarity. It's a health and safety issue just for workers, but this is to the community. This is dumpsters, all right? Now, I have been coming here for a long time and talking about dumpsters. Now, in 1999, there was a dumpster law, and it was passed, and it says specifically to requiring dumpsters to be removed from view from thoroughfares or screened. Okay, so that's why it was passed. And it was also passed by saying that existing dumpsters were included. Now, this is what my community has to put up with every day, all right? There are dumpsters everywhere, and they're sitting on top of storm drains to Stevenson's Creek. Now, there is no grandfather clause included in this ordinance, okay? That is something this city did. You basically didn't enforce it, okay? I can't get anything enclosed because it's against the law. These dumpsters, I don't know what to do. What do I do? I've been coming here for 3 years. I have met with every single director in charge of the dumpsters. I have met with managers. I have met with everybody, and I get the same thing. We really want to help you. We see it's a problem. Brian Johnson, who was fired over the recycling thing, okay, that's later on. I mean, he came out and met me multiple times. He would move a dumpster 4 feet over, okay, just to try to make me happy, but his hands were tied. That's all he could do. Now, you guys have the power to actually do something. In the ordinance that was passed in 1999 and ignored by the incoming administration that came in, has a whole lot of things that you guys can do. There's a board that can mitigate them. You guys can go through. I mean, there are dumpsters that are sitting out in the middle of nowhere. Here, I can play. I mean, it's ridiculous. There's little girls. Look, there's little girls that have grown up with this stuff. I mean, I don't know. I mean, this is, and the East Gate was built way before 1999. So all of this, every day. And like that new streetscape, there's actually a dumpster sitting in the middle of the brand new sidewalk on Pierce Street. I mean, you guys love dumpsters, and I complain about it. You know what happens? You guys painted them. and you left them sitting on top of drains. All right? And what else did you do? You've left, somebody on Pure Street has a big pad and they're fortified with big metal poles. So you fortified them and you painted them and you've done nothing. All right? One caught on fire on Franklin Street, so the trees behind it burned. All right? This is a health and safety issue. All right? Okay? Stop protecting businesses and everybody else. Do something for the
Thank you. Anyone else on items not on the agenda?
Hello, Mr. Mayor, council members and staff. What brings me here tonight is like an old sand spur.
Please
And I
identify yourself for
apologize.
the record.
Wayne Carruthers,
Thank you.
1475 Excalibur Drive, 33764. I live off Nursery Road. That's my topic tonight. I apologize for that first fellow. I don't understand that. What brings me here tonight is this is an old sand spur. It won't go away, but it's to save Nursery Road. I know Frank Hibbard came out, he walked the walk with Kathleen, but it didn't get us anywhere. So this is about the academy that's being built on Nursery Road right across from Beltree's there. I think we know, or we've accepted that this is not going to go away because they're probably 3/4 of the way built. But new things keep coming up that we find that should be brought to your attention. We had Swift Mud out there the other day, and we didn't get anywhere with them. They just signed off on it without even walking the walk. And then we had the county out there too. This road needs help. This road was designed a long time ago to bring traffic off 19 and bring it into Belcher and on up to Highland Avenue. It's a 2-lane road. It's got ditches. Lighting is not the best. Cars, when they come off of Belcher, by the time they hit where the academy is, they're doing 80. Doesn't matter which way they're going. We need help. So the reason I'm here is, Mr. Mayor, I know that you weren't part of this. I know you came in around March or so. I'm asking the city if you would come out and meet us one more time, maybe a half hour of your time, and maybe Kathleen too. You're familiar with what I'm talking about. And meet with us, maybe a half hour of your time, and just listen to the new things that we've discovered. We've already had a young 15-year-old die on South Haven and Bel Air. Well, this connects, South Haven is the main road now where this academy is. So that's what brings me here. I wouldn't feel right if another student was killed. We had a young lady killed this year on a bicycle. So it needs attention, and you guys can help us solve this. So that's why I'm here. When I say this is an old sand spur, so Manager Jennings, who's gone now, he insulted my neighbor who came here to talk. Right here, he said to him, quote unquote, if you don't like what we're doing, sue the city. His language was very unbecoming of what you would expect. And there's another lady, and I'm not here to bash her in any way. She's the PE engineer. We asked her last week if she would come out and meet us, and she refused. She just said, I know more than you. And it's just not what we expect in the city. So I'm reaching out, and I'm hoping maybe you can give us 15, 20 minutes of your time, and we can discuss this.
All right, thank you, Mr. Carruthers. Someone will get back with you. Thank you. Anyone else on items not on tonight's agenda? Not on the agenda.
My name is Jennifer Hathcock. Good evening, Mayor.
Good evening.
Is it Ungst?
Yes.
City council members and all attending. My address is 1345 Park Street, which is the St. Vincent de Paul Soup Kitchen. I am just one face of the homeless, or I'm sorry, your unhoused residents. Here's a little summary of some of what my life has been like. I am a survivor of severe childhood trauma, sexual abuse from my own father, and narcissistic abuse from my whole family. And God is the only reason I'm able to speak tonight. Please see a picture on the screen. that's me right now. God is doing this right now. You know what I'm saying? Because for the last 3 or 4 days, I've been in depression, not even having the will to even want to do anything. Tonight was, it was either here or Winmore. Well, I've done come here so many times and done this. Just gonna do my thing. Find myself again. I am originally from North Carolina. I decided to move to Clearwater 2 years ago and had to escape so much narcissistic abuse that I didn't want to live. Now look at me, speaking at city council meetings, working with other organizations to find solutions to the homeless, addiction, and mental health problems plaguing this beautiful city I love. I got a little ADHD, so some of my stuff might be all over, but so I'm here to speak on the lack of shelters, affordable housing, mental health services, resources, and the lack of funding. I would like to bring up the city's ability to raise and locate $84 million for the beautiful new Coachman Park and the Sound right here at the library. I would like to ask for the same enthusiasm and passion for the council to raise and find even half of that amount for new shelters, affordable housing, and other services to get your citizens off the streets. Please imagine, if you would, not having the beautiful and safe home you all have to go to when you leave here tonight and had to find somewhere to sleep, something to eat, take a bath, or you had to dig your through the trash to find something to eat. The time is now. No more talking. It's time for action. People are struggling, and you ride by them. I'm not going to be able to. Can I ask anybody to donate it?
They will have to give up their time that has not spoken.
Okay. Does anybody want to, that's not speaking, want to donate at least a minute?
Please wrap it up, ma'am.
Huh?
Please wrap it up.
Okay, I can definitely do that. It's really quick. Let me find where I was at. People are struggling, and you ride by them, laying on the street sleeping. How about stopping and talking to them, finding out why they're homeless? And if any of the council would like to hear my story, I'm available. Just have your people reach out to me.
Thank you.
I would like to ask the council to put on an agenda
Ma'am,
soon
please wrap it up.
to
Okay?
find and raise enough money
Thank you.
to put toward an idea that I have for help alleviate the unhoused, addicted, and mental health population. Thank you, and let's be the change we want to see in the world. God bless everyone, and I hope everyone has a safe and wonderful evening.
Good evening. My name is Suzanne Snurpus. I live in Madeira Beach, work here in Clearwater, and stand here with you to talk on behalf of my brothers and sisters that are in this room tonight. We have been listening to the stories from these workers as we have attempted to combat this horrible Senate Bill 256 that's going on across our state. And I'm not here to talk about that. I am here to talk about the men and women that show up every single day to keep this city running, but can't afford to live in the city. The people that have repeatedly had issues on the job and reached out and asked for help repeatedly, and nobody did anything to help them. I'm here to share stories of people that keep your city running, who show up whenever there's a crisis, and who are grossly undercompensated and disrespected and beat down. And it is not okay. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, Consumer prices in Tampa, St. Petersburg, Clearwater metro area increased by 7.3% from May 2022 to May 2023. I don't know if any of you all have had to look for a house recently in your city, but the average two-bedroom price is $2,200. That doesn't get you electricity. That doesn't get you internet. That doesn't get you groceries. That just gives you a place to lay down at night. Without our labor to maintain all of the city's departments, the tourism industry would die. Right? We stand before you today because our concerns within the workplace have fallen on deaf ears. So I am asking each of you tonight to lace up your boots, roll up your sleeves, go and visit these city workers in their job sites and ask them what the heck is going on. What can I do to make it better? What do you need from the city? I would love to hear if any of you have been down to the gas department.
We
need y'all in the fight.
Thank you. Anyone else on item on the agenda? Not on the agenda.
May I?
Yes.
I certainly appreciate everybody being here tonight. We are currently in negotiations with CWA. I actually was given an update just today. We absolutely value our employees. We value our relationship with the CWA and the executive board. In my 5 years, very much appreciated that relationship. So surprised and certainly concerned by the things that I'm hearing tonight that I have not heard until this evening. So please trust that, I have been already reaching out to HR, and so long as it's okay with us currently being in negotiations, would like to reach out to the executive board to learn more about this. But, we absolutely care about our employees, and the negotiations are going well.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Now for the consent agenda. I think we're pulling 7.4 off the consent. We have a motion to approve everything but 7.4.
And 7.11.
And 7.11, okay.
All right, I move we approve 7.1 through, what was?
4 is coming off.
Through 3, and then 7.5.
Council, I believe a resident would like to pull some other items.
If I may, I'd like to have clarification on item 7.8. 7.8 and 7.4 you've already mentioned. I'd like to pull those off for clarification.
Okay.
All right, well, let's see.
7.1 through 3.
Yes. 7.1 through 3, 7.5 through 7.7, 7.9, and 7.10, and 7.12 to 17.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Unanimous. Thank you. Let's go to 7.4, please.
Approve change order 2 to Pool and Kent Company of Florida in Tampa for Marshall Street Water Reclamation Facility, process control gas gates repairs in the amounts of $287,416, increasing the contract amount to $3,765,152.02, and extend project completion by 270 days from July 3, 2023 through April 8, 2024. Approve supplemental work order 3, engineer of record, Brown and Caldwell, in the amounts of $351,570 for additional engineering services during construction, increasing the work order total to $784,128, and authorize the appropriate officials to execute same.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Rich Gardner, Director of Public Utilities. The purpose of this project is to repair and/or replace some of the control gates at Marshall Street wastewater reclamation facility. The control gates allow plant operators to balance the flow rates into various aeration tanks. They also allow operations to isolate tanks for maintenance. Due to a longer process to approve and obtain the replacement gates, the contractor requests the contract duration be extended to April 8th, 2024. When we extend the project timeline, we also need to increase the budget for the engineer of record overseeing the project. Hence supplemental order to, work order 3 to Brown and Caldwell. Lastly, we'd like to use this opportunity to replenish available contingency. We need to replenish the contingency so that we have funds available to deal with unforeseen construction issues. No contingency work is done without my approval, and if necessary, I will enlist help from the city engineer, legal, the assistant city manager, and the city manager. Just a little bit of my background to approve these. I'm a licensed engineer with 40 years of construction and engineering experience. I'm also a licensed contractor in the state of Florida. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
So I was not here at the work session, but I was listening to it live, and there's still some questions that remain in my mind, and I was hoping that you can talk me through it, because the way I saw it, I'm questioning why change the process, because at the end of the day, you're asking to have the authority for 3 times the amount what our city manager was just approved to receive, to have, which was $100,000. And so why are we changing the process if at the end of the day she still has the ability to change the order, the change order? So I'm having a hard time understanding why changing the process when there is already one in place.
So change order number 1 went to the city manager and was within our 10% authority. So change order number 2, we would bring to council because we've already exceeded the 10% authority of the city manager.
But aren't you asking, when you're asking for the 300,000, isn't that sort of like skipping a step where you're able to have the autonomy to spend it or allocate it to a job? Or no?
Yeah, I would approve. I would approve the use of those funds. We won't necessarily use those funds. As a matter of fact, I make it a goal in life not to spend contingency, and I question. If someone comes to me with a contingency request, my first says, well, why didn't the engineer think of this? Well, so to be in the bid. And then I say, is it part of the scope? Is the contractor trying to do something that he should be doing anyways? And then I question the amount. If those questions are answered to my satisfaction, then I'll approve it. But we may not use this contingency.
Yes, sir.
So I think the discussion, if I remember on Monday, was about contingencies. And Rich, whenever we're dealing with your department, they're big money jobs because they need to be done. And the way I see it, they need to be done quickly. I don't know if you have the wherewithal to stop everything and say, well, let's go back to council and ask them if I can spend this contingency money. You want to be able to, if let's say they drain the tank and they see something that they can't see until the tank's drained, that tank needs to be working. So you try to guess what the contingency is going to be, and then that's what I see this is about, not going in if the city manager has the right to go up to 10% on it, but if you've already used it, the only option you'd have would be come back to council, and I don't know if the people in Clearwater would mind going without the sewer until the next city council meeting. So that's the only thing that I see right now that's why he's asking for this thing. And we probably will have a conversation on contingencies on construction projects and so forth. I think that's something council should talk about in the future, but I think this is, in this case, where there's a timing issue, I mean, I'm fine with it because of that, because it needs to be fixed. They need to make a decision whether, right on the spot, if it needs to be done, and then move on.
Okay. Yes.
Well, I think Councilmember Teixeira brings up some good points. One, Rich, I certainly don't question your credentials or background, so it's not about the person who holds the position, it's more about the procedure and process. And I just think there's also, the reality that when our providers or our contractors know that there's $300,000 sitting there in contingency funds, they're aware of that. rather than if they know our city manager can authorize up to $100,000 or 10% of the contract by picking up the phone. That's different than, I've got this pot of money already sitting there that I just need to go through Rich. Otherwise, they need to go through Rich, and then Rich picks up the phone and calls our city manager, which is, to me, I think it's a little bit more about oversight and accountability, and true to the process. So I think there's that other component about contractors knowing that we have that money there.
I mean, I've been that contractor. I've been on the other side. I've been, how do I get this contingency? What about change orders? Let me get some change orders, because that's where contractors make their money.
Yeah.
I know their tricks.
Yeah.
Jen has been a great mentor to me, but I think I know more about these contracts.
Yeah.
I've been involved in this project since its inception.
Yeah.
My guys are always yelling at me, Rich, stop looking at drawings, stop looking at spec. I've been intimately involved in this project from the start.
But I would say, what if we have, the next director isn't quite as eagle-eyed as you are? You know what I mean?
So I'm retired in this scenario?
Well, no.
I hope I'm alive.
Yeah.
Again, I would hope, I mean, the director position has certain requirements. An engineer is preferred, and I would hope they would have expertise, maybe not quite as my expertise, but they'd have expertise.
Has there ever been a significant delay with needing to, have a contingency that wasn't there and you couldn't get immediate approval from a city manager?
So I don't think this is within her approval authority this time. If it's, we would have to declare an emergency. So that's what we did with the digester, and that did not work out as well as we would have liked. I think the council had some legitimate questions on how that process went when we did the emergency for the digester. So even getting the city manager's approval takes time. I'm going to have to educate her on this construction project. So the most expedient way for us to get the job done is through the use of contingency in this case. I would point out that the reason we're doing this job is because Florida DEP did an inspection in the site 3 years ago, and they realized there was a problem with these gates. They didn't open. They were frozen shut because they're 20, 30 years old. So it is, they haven't come back to us and said, hey, it's been 3 years, but we are trying to get it done to make them happy.
That's great.
Mayor? Rich, will you, because you have done a good job, and through Assistant City Manager Slaughter as well, educating us on this, can you just, I think for the public and also for the council, describe how and the reasons why what we're experiencing on this project we could not have known at the time?
When we were designing this project and figuring out what needed to be done, we realized there was some concrete spalling, there was some exposed rebar, all that needed to be repaired. So we took down a tank. Now that's hard because the gates don't work. When I say take down a tank, we emptied a tank as much as we could. And we looked at it and we saw, okay, there's this much spalling. Let's go to another tank. When we went to the other tanks, we couldn't empty them because these gates didn't work. They leaked so much, we just couldn't keep up with the flow. So we based our estimate on the spalling concrete that we saw in that one tank. We also had done a similar job on other tanks at Marshall Street that we thought were about the same age. But we could see from the outside. We were fixing the outside. So we knew the quantities, and those quantities were similar to the ones that we were suggesting for this project, this tank. And in fact, we bumped them up. We said, based on this tank we emptied, we need, say, we need 15 feet of repair. We said, let's say 20 feet just in case. Well, we grossly underestimated the amount because we based it on that one tank that happened to be in better condition than the other tanks.
Well, I tend to agree with Councilmember Albritton that our infrastructure is important to take care of. Have we seen this abused at all? Are we aware of any abuse in the system?
If I may?
Yes.
So, this topic has come up frequently and often on public utilities because of how it's really the number of projects and then the vastness of their projects. So it's not for anything else other than the number of projects that they do, which we applaud them for, right? And there's a lot of people involved. We have legal, we have finance and purchasing, public utilities, and the city manager's office all working together to see like how we can do a better job so we don't continue to have these same conversations. And we've got great ideas because it's not a matter of being done wrong, but how can it be done better so we don't continue to have these relationships. And so everybody's engaged, and we've got some great ideas on how to do that going forward. What we don't have is the ability to fix the ones that have already been approved. And again, that's not me saying that there's something wrong on this, but we've learned how to do it better. And talking about these projects and the complexity of it and how they could not tell how bad it was until they got inside. And so it's not a matter of due diligence that wasn't done, it's just a matter of they didn't know. But again, there's things we've learned from this, and we will apply that to the future. On this project, I've already utilized my 10%, so that is not available. And so from what has been explained to me, yes, they could wait and come back to council, but there's cost for that because then they they break down and then have to come back. And so there's additional cost by waiting. That is certainly an option though. If it's an emergency, then we can do it under the emergency. So those are the options, but we do hear and agree in terms of that there's things that we could do from a process perspective at the front end of this to make it not be such a conversation when we get to this point. And that work is being done. So you will see a difference in the projects moving forward. There's just some of these that we have to get through. But we are fully staffed in the city manager's office now. There is a lot of oversight on this. And not as a matter of not having trust in the staff, because we do, but just, trust but verify. That's what we've been talking about, and that is being done. So agree with the concerns on this and know that we'll do, it differently and better going forward. But I do recommend support on this and understand that the oversight is there.
Okay, do we have a motion?
I make a motion to approve agenda item 7.4.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you.
7.8?
Authorize a contract to Waste Connections of Florida for a period of 1 year for the processing of municipal single-stream recycling commodity at the contractor's materials recovery facilities in a cumulative not-to-exceed amount of $1,020,000 pursuant to invitation to negotiate 29-23 and authorize the appropriate officials to execute same.
Good afternoon, Mayor, council members. Kevin Amy, Solid Waste Director.
Good afternoon.
Before you, item 7.8 is to approve a contract for single-stream recycling for solid waste. So, council members, on April 25th, 2023, we had a evaluation committee meet to evaluate a proposal for single-stream recycling. We had 2 vendors that responded to the proposal: Waste Connection and Waste Management. Waste Management first proposal was for $159.33 per ton to process at their Tampa Ybor City facility, and they also provided another proposal for $189.63 per ton to their Clearwater transfer station. That also include revenue sharing. Waste Connection initially offered was $140 per ton with no revenue sharing at their St. Pete location. The committee thought that both proposals was very high and requested to negotiate with both vendors at the same time. We met at a second meeting with both vendors. Waste Management's second offer was $154 per ton at the Tampa location and $183 per ton at the Clearwater transfer station, with revenue sharing. Waste Connection second offer was for $120 per ton with revenue sharing with a sliding scale. So we are I'm requesting that you approve the contract with Waste Connection for $120 per ton with the revenue scale.
Thank you. Does anyone want to speak to this item? Yes.
Patrick Raftery, resident for 44 years. I had two questions on this item, which I believe I did send to the council members. The first one is, as I understood it from the work session on Monday, there was a disagreement between us and Waste Connections as to what was defined as a contaminated load. And contaminated loads are very critical to us with respect to those loads that can be recycled. So my suggestion was to make sure before this contract is signed that it is clearly defined and accepted by both parties what is a contaminated load before we proceed. And the second point I was trying to make was, when this episode occurred to us, one of the reasons given to us for the failure of the city to recycle was the fact that the vehicles used to transport the material to the processing station were breaking down. They were mechanically breaking down on a regular basis. So my suggestion was, is it appropriate at this time to not include any purchase of a new vehicle, but to put us at risk again, perhaps, of breakdowns occurring? But the only backup I heard on Monday at the work session was, if that happens, we'll bring another vehicle in from another location. And my only question to the council members was, is that risk management acceptable to yourselves to say, we'll stay with the two vehicles we have, and if they break down, we'll bring in that third vehicle to sustain the recycling? Because in all honesty, this was a rather significant breakdown on the part of the city, and the residents have not forgotten it. And I don't think we want to repeat it again. We've now made the corrections. We just don't want to repeat it again with breakdowns causing recycling not to occur. And that were the only 2 points I wanted to make.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else on this item?
My name's Kathy Flaherty, and I just want to make sure everybody knows the history about this clearly. All right, so on November 29, 2022, the city attorney received this notice of cancellation. And basically, it was canceled because there was a lack of reliable deliveries. Basically, they weren't getting anything to recycle because they were contaminated. The trucks were getting picked up and just taking them straight to get burnt. Okay? Now, the Tampa Bay Times reported that on January 6th, a month after the city attorney had the notice of cancellation, Jennifer figured out that there was the problem. So I don't know what happened between the month the city attorney got it and Jennifer discovered the problem. Somebody broke down. Now, this new contract, you can see, it says that they will be separating all the material. We don't have to separate anymore, okay? You don't have to worry about contamination, I don't think, with this contract. I think that's what this contract does. Now, I'll play a couple videos. Back in 2018, the city actually got caught doing the same thing, all right? I gotta turn my volume up. Oh, my God. But there's extensive research. 2019, extensive research. Okay, so let's see what happened in 2018.
Tonight, collecting nearly 1 million pounds of recycling in August, but IT reporter Jackie Calloway uncovered 1/3 of all of that recycling ended up dumped in the trash and incinerated, and the city.
This was in 2018. All right, so then let's see what the city did about that. All right, here's Hoyt Hamilton explained.
Clearwater isn't the one contaminating the recycling. It's what's coming to us, and by regulation, we have no choice but to send it and have it burned at the incinerators. What is contaminated is the levels we're getting. It's not our fault. It's, we're doing things the right way. Some people try to.
So guess who got fired? Brian Johnson did, because he said he was burning the recycling.
Whatever, and like we're not city. working the things the way the
All right.
regulations say we have to do.
No comments from the audience, please. Okay.
We just have to re-educate the public that, you know,
There's tons of recyclables dumped in the trash and the burn every.
Now, this is after the city council work session.
Clearwater incinerating.
So, basically,
We're cameras caught city recycling trucks headed straight to the incinerator. We were told on camera that
All
the
right, thank you, Ms.
soil
Flaherty.
will be placed with every road, every
Businesses and residents tonight collecting nearly 1 million.
I'll play it more the next time.
But I've seen reporter Jackie Calloway.
Anyone else on this item?
All of that recycling ended up
Stephen Sarnoff, 1417 Normandy Park Drive. As a former employee of that department, and as one of the people who helped run the recycling program, it's hard to defend some of the actions. But trust me, when we had the yellow bins and we had limited the items that we recycled, life was a lot easier. When the issue politically happened with China, and China wasn't taking our cardboard anymore, that was devastating. We kept trying to recycle, even though we knew we were fighting a losing battle. The only real commodity we had were the plastic bottles, and thank God for Shore Flooring, keeping the plastic bottle business going. Other than that, the recycling business became brutal, plus the overwhelming amount of electronics being dumped into the single stream. The bottom line is that it was a leap of faith, and every community that's done single stream recycling faces the same thing. That's why they set up the MRFs to do the sorting, okay? That's exactly why, and it's basically not a profit center. No matter what you hear, it's never going to be a profit center. Recycling is something for the common good, the same way that you have a jail for the common good, to have a place to put people who we want to take out of society. Recycling is simply a way to try to maintain the landfill. And please remember that at the bottom of this whole question is our landfill. Our landfill and that in 1985 incinerator are a limited future, okay? Right now, we're not having to put our garbage yet, as far as I know, on rail cars and try to ship it to Alabama or someplace. God knows where it's going to go. So whatever we can do, whether it loses money or not, it's still going to be cheaper than the cost of putting everything on rail cars or barges and shipping it someplace else, if there's ever going to be someplace else to bring it to. We have to recycle. We have to buy products that are recyclable, that have a future, that it's not just put a triangle on a piece of plastic that we know damn well we can't do anything with, but we feel good when we buy it and say, but I put it in the recycle bin, and we can't do a damn thing with it. That's the reality, Commissioners. That's the reality that we face. It's a bigger question more than our department, more than our city can answer. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else on this item? Okay. Any questions, comments? Anyone? So my comment and question is, how are the trucks? Do we need to replace the trucks, or was that just an anomaly?
So currently, we have 2 trucks that's operating. We have a backup plan to use a truck from our transfer station in the event that we lose a truck. We have ordered a new truck. It's on our current budget to purchase a new vehicle, so that is in the process right now.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or comments? If not, do we have a motion?
Yeah, move to approve
Yes,
agenda
hold on.
item.
I just wanted to Mr. Rafferty's point, just point out that there is a clause in this agreement that discusses the contamination rate. You may have already noticed or seen it, but it calls for like a 25% and a process for how we handle loads when they come in contaminated, how those will be vetted out. So it does accomplish that.
Okay, thank you.
So the contaminated rate is based on the composition study that was done back in 2022. We're currently working to present another composition study to look at our recycling and also our contaminated rate also.
Thank you.
Okay, I move to approve agenda item 7.8.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, unanimous. 7-11,
Appoint Emily Pano to the Sister Cities Advisory Board with a term to expire August 17, 2027. Council members, I'm pulling this item not to bring back. It will be brought back with the new applicants. Ms. Pano has decided, after further consideration, she decided to remain on the Building Flood Board and respectfully withdrew her application.
Thank you. Okay, item number 8, the administrative public hearings.
Approve State Housing Initiatives Partnership Program Annual Report and Local Housing Incentive Certification for the closeout year 2020 through 2021 and interim year 2021 through 2022, and allow appropriate officials to execute same.
Good evening, Denise Anderson, Economic Development and Housing. By September 15th of each year, we're required to submit an annual report of the city's use of State Housing Initiatives Partnership Program, or SHIP. The report is attached to your agenda. And like all funding sources that we manage, SHIP has a unique set of requirements. Among those, we have a minimum 30% of the funds that need to be spent on very low or extremely low income. Excuse me. A minimum 30% on low income, which is 80% AMI and below. A minimum of 20% with special needs. Minimum of 75% on construction, whether rehab or new construction. Minimum of 65% on home ownership. And a maximum of 10% on administration, which supports staff salaries. Not established is a set aside for what we call workforce housing, which is the 80 to 120%. So whatever's left over from that mix is what we get to spend. Our federal sources, as you may recall, are limited to 80 and below. This is the only funding source that we have that's an allocation or entitlement fund that allows us to spend on workforce housing. Because of the constraints to meet these requirements, these set-aside requirements, we're allowed to utilize these funds over a 3-year period. So this is a closeout for fiscal year 2020-2021. The annual report, though the governor did veto the allocation for that fiscal year, we did receive $433,000 in program income. That program income is received through the repayment of loans. With nearly $78,000 allocated to prior year projects, we had available $355,126 in change. And with these funds, we provided $45,000 for the purchase of an existing home. We rehabilitated 7 single-family homes with a total spend of nearly $182,500. We contributed funds for construction of 1 single-family home at a total cost of $103,000 in change. Total expenditures, which in these categories is $331,070.51. Adding the administrative expense allowed for these, total expense for that fiscal year was $362,187. With a negative carryover that I described to you on Monday, the total spend exceeded what we had available, so you'll see a negative carry forward to next year's closeout period of $6,972.49. Happy to take any questions.
Questions or comments? Anyone? Okay, do we have a motion? Does anyone want to speak to this item? Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve agenda item 8.1.
Second. All in favor? Aye. It's unanimous. Thank you. Okay, let's see, where are we? 8.2, please.
Approve the annexation, initial feature land use map designation of residential estate, RE, and the drainage feature overlay and initial zoning atlas designation of low-density residential LDR district for an unaddressed parcel at Tanglewood Drive, and pass ordinances 9684-23, 9685-23, and 9686-23 on first reading.
Gina Clayton, Planning and Development. This vacant parcel is located on the north side of Tanglewood Drive, that's west of McMullen Booth Road. The applicant plans to build a single-family home on the property and is requesting annexation in order to receive sanitary sewer and solid waste service. The property is contiguous to city boundaries and will be designated residential estate and drainage feature on the future land use map and zoned low-density residential. There will be no adverse impacts on city services, and we're recommending approval.
Okay, thank you. Anyone want to speak to this item?
Yes, good evening. I'm Terry Zaleski. I live at 3002 Tanglewood Drive, which is part of Lot 3. This property was divided, and my property is here. You don't really see it. The other property was divided into this section. It was all part of Lot 3. This actually shows it a little better as my property and Lot 3. It all used to be one property. The reason I would like to get like a 6-month stay on this project, because I know it's good for your benefit, tax purposes, but there's quite a hill on this property that I've been using that driveway going up the hill. And I need to put in a new driveway. That way. Sorry. I need to put in a new driveway because I've been going up this way. And it's been like this for 30-some years. I'm the third owner of this piece of property because it was split from the original owner that now wants to annex it into the city, which I know is good for you because you're going to have tax money. But if you look at this picture, I have quite a hill going down. This is very steep, whereas this one is over 100 feet long and it's a gradual. All my utility people, I just had garage doors put in. They came up that other driveway. I'm having tree work done, trimming the trees, because I have quite a few trees there. And so all I'm asking is if you could postpone this for 6 months so I can redo the driveway that I have. He put in a driveway, it's not really, well, I guess you could see it here a little bit. It's only 10 foot wide. I want to make it 12, and I want to cut the hill because he just followed it down the way the land was. I want to cut it so it's not quite so steep. So if you could take that into consideration for me, I can get this done. I've had 3 contractors come and give me estimates on doing this new driveway, because once he takes that and, divides, cuts the property to put his residential house in, I'll lose access to my house.
So you won't have access to the driveway if we annex this?
Excuse me?
Is that what you're saying? You're not going to have access to a driveway if we annex this property?
Well, I have a driveway that he put in so that he could sell the house. When he broke the property up, he had to put something in. So he put this 10-foot wide, but all he did was just put it like this, the hill. So I want to cut it so it's not so steep. And the concrete guy told me, once you lay the concrete, you can't drive all of it for a week or so for it to harden. So I was just hoping that you could postpone this annex a little while to give me time to have this done. That's...
All right. Thank you, sir.
Okay.
We'll talk about it.
Thank you.
Anyone else on this item? Yes, sir.
Mayor, could I ask the gentleman a question?
Yes, please come back up, sir.
Sir?
Please come back
Sir?
up.
So if I understand you correctly, your property was split.
Right.
So you own the one half of the property, you got a house on there and a driveway, but you've been accessing your property through the adjoining individual's parcel?
If you look at this picture here, the mailbox and these light posts work on the switch out in my front door. So those lights go on. This mailbox has been there for 43 years.
If you would you put up the drawing that you have of the lot configuration?
Yes.
And point to me where you're accessing your property from now.
Okay. This picture here is Lot 3 and my property.
Right.
Right now, the driveway goes this way, comes down here, and that's what I've been using. There is another 10-foot wide driveway that goes up this area there. It's right on the property line. I could, let's see. here's the picture of the driveway, and there's where the property line is. So it goes pretty close to the,
So you're accessing your property through a driveway on the adjoining parcel.
I've been using it for 24 years. I maintain it, I cut the grass over there and trim the trees. So I figure I'm doing my part because I'm using their driveway, really. But,
Administrative staff will look into that issue for you, but just please understand that property owner,
oh yeah, they have
we
a
may or
perfect
may
right.
not be able to delay his
Yes.
project for 6 months because your driveway encroaches onto another parcel.
Well, I was just wanted to bring.
We'll take a look at that.
Okay, thank you. That's all I was,
All right,
all
thanks.
I wanted to do. Thank you.
sir.
Hi, my name's Julie Vitale. My mother, Deborah Orsi, owns the lot, or the property that we're speaking about tonight. I want to speak to what he actually just said, what Terry said. So I did grow up in that home, and then we moved next door, and the girls that moved in next door drove me to high school, and we went up and down that driveway 5 days a week for an entire school year. So the driveway is functional and does its purpose. However, yes, he did use the driveway of the original home, which my father built and we lived in growing up. So we would like to annex that property into the city so that we can build a home for my brother to have a new home closer to my parents. My mother in 2022 was diagnosed with breast cancer. She underwent chemotherapy and is currently under treatment. My brother helps take her to her appointments, and he just wants to be closer to them while also in a new home. And just, they're getting older, and he wants to try to help and be close. My mother's been paying the taxes on this specific property for 45 years. She's owned it for 45 years. Yes, Terry has used the driveway, and by the way, Terry, a building permit will take longer, this whole process will take longer than 6 months, so I don't think delaying it's going to serve a purpose, but that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Okay, anyone else? So what's the recommendation?
Proceed with the annexation.
Okay. All right, do we have a motion?
Move to approve item 8.2.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, unanimous.
We're gonna have to read that.
I'm sorry.
And if I
Read
could
it.
just add something, just a couple of things briefly, I wouldn't normally comment. But first of all, we have an annexation ordinance that governs the standards for annexation. And so the council by ordinance has already established the standards under which, annexation should be granted or not. And so we don't have to guess, it's not a free-for-all, it's not arbitrary. Those standards include, for example, our ability to provide services, to the property, as well as the consistency with our land development regulations or comprehensive plan. It would be one thing if Ms. Clayton gets an application for annexation and the property is currently operating in a way that doesn't conform, let's say, to our land development regulations. That's a judgment call, that can be made as to whether we want to accept that property into the city as a non-conforming use, or whether we might want to say, this is so different than what we have as our land development regulations that maybe it's not best to have that property in the city. But the concerns that, I've heard this evening, I do not think fall within any of the rubric definitions as to the standards set forth in our annexation ordinance. So I would say, I agree with Mr. Delk, I really see no reason legally that the council can or should say no to this. And just as an aside, although it is not legally relevant, on the observation regarding taxes, of course, as those of us in government well know, low-density residential actually doesn't pay the bills. It's actually revenue negative for the city. So if it was actually a financial decision, we would actually be better off never annexing any low-density residential ever again. But of course, that's not what we do because we try to provide services. So it actually does not benefit the city financially, but we do it because it's the right thing to do to provide services. So that's all I wanted to say.
Okay, I'll read the ordinance.
Yes, sir. So this starts off with ordinance number 9684-23. which is an ordinance of the City of Clearwater, Florida, annexing certain unaddressed real property located on the north side of Tanglewood Drive, approximately 675 feet west of Oak Creek Drive East in Clearwater, Florida, 33761, into the corporate limits of the city and redefining the boundary lines of the city to include said addition, providing an effective date. Next up, we have ordinance number 9685-23, which is an ordinance of the City of Clearwater, Florida, amending the future land use element of the comprehensive plan of the city to designate the land use for certain unaddressed real property located on the north side of Tanglewood Drive, approximately 675 feet west of Oak Creek Drive East in Clearwater, Florida, 33761, upon annexation into the City of Clearwater as residential estate, RE, and drainage feature overlay, providing an effective date. And finally, we have ordinance number 9686-23, an ordinance of the City of Clearwater, Florida, amending the zoning atlas of the city by zoning certain unaddressed real property located on the north side of Tanglewood Drive, approximately 675 feet west of Oak Creek Drive East in Clearwater, Florida, 33761, upon annexation into the City of Clearwater as low-density residential, LDR, providing an effective date.
Okay, now do we have a motion?
Move to approve item 8.2.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed, unanimous. 8.3, please.
Approve the annexation, initial future land use map designations of residential estate, RE, and water and initial zoning atlas designation of low-density residential, LDR, district for 1862 Macaulay Road, and pass ordinances 9694-23, 9695-23, and 9696-23 on first reading.
This 1.26 acre property is located on the west side of Macaulay Road and is occupied by a single-family home, and the owners are requesting annexation in order to receive sanitary sewer and solid waste service. While this property is not contiguous to city boundaries, it is located in a Type A enclave and is eligible for annexation. The property will be designated residential estate, and water on the future land use map in zone low-density residential. There will be no adverse impacts, and we're recommending approval.
Okay, would anyone like to speak to this item? Okay, read the ordinance, please.
We have ordinance number 9694-23 up first, which is an ordinance of the City of Clearwater, Florida, annexing certain real property located on the west side of Macaulay Road, approximately 790 feet southeast of Sunset Point Road, whose post office address is 1862 Macaulay Road, Clearwater, Florida, 33765, into the corporate limits of the city and redefining the boundary lines of the city to include said addition, providing an effective date. Next up, we have ordinance number 9695-23, an ordinance of the City of Clearwater, Florida, amending the future land use element of the comprehensive plan of the city to designate the land use for certain real property located on the west side of Macaulay Road, approximately 790 feet southeast of Sunset Point Road, whose post office address is 1862 Macaulay Road, Clearwater, Florida, 33765, upon annexation into the City of Clearwater as residential estate, RE, and water, providing an effective date. And finally, we have ordinance number 9696-23, an ordinance of the City of Clearwater, Florida, amending the zoning atlas of the city by zoning certain real property located on the west side of Macaulay Road, approximately 790 feet southeast of Sunset Point Road, whose post office address is 1862 Macaulay Road, Clearwater, Florida, 33765, upon annexation into the City of Clearwater as low-density residential, LDR, providing an effective date.
Okay, do we have a motion?
Motion to approve agenda item 8.3.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed, unanimous. Let's take a very brief recess.
That personal
Welcome back to the August 17th Clearwater City Council meeting, and let's move to item number 9, and the city manager reports.
Approve $250,000 for startup and 1-year ongoing operating expenses of Amplified Clearwater Tourism Incubator to be located at 1346 South Fort Harrison Avenue, Clearwater.
Good evening, Denise Anderson, Economic Development and Housing. As discussed on Monday, September 1, 2022, City Council approved an allocation of $250,000 for the establishment of a business incubator. And on July 7th, 23, Amplified Clearwater submitted a detailed business plan for the establishment of the same. This incubator is going to be focused on cultivating and strengthening the area's tourism ecosystem. It's specifically focused on innovation and sustainability within the industry sector. The business plan is attached to the agenda. On Monday, we talked about the 5-year rates of incubated businesses versus non-incubated businesses, and also about equity, stake versus fee-based models, and established that the request or the business plan before you is based on a fee-based model. That shouldn't be confused with the ability of those fees to pay for the operations of the incubator, however. And the proposal that Amplify Clearwater submitted does detail additional funding sources that they intend to seek. We also talked about these fee-based models. It is very common and appropriate for public funding to accompany these incubators. Therefore, city staff is recommending approval of $250,000 request, shown as $150,000 for the approval of startup costs, as described in the plan. $50,000 upon launch of a cohort 1, which is expected to launch on or about October 2nd, and $50,000 upon the launch of cohort 2. Amanda Payne, President and CEO of Amplify Clearwater, is here to say a few words, and then she'll introduce David Ponraj. David is with Economic Impact Catalyst, who's partnering on this project, and he has a brief PowerPoint presentation, and this is to answer the questions that were asked on Monday. So with your indulgence, I'd like them to participate before you hear from others.
Please do.
Thank you, Denise. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for having us. It's exciting to be in front of you today. Last year, you gave us an opportunity to start a journey, and we didn't have direction. And at that time, we began to research and discover what is it that a real incubator looks like in our community, what would it look like in our communities, we bring it to life. What are the needs of our community? What does the surrounding region offer? And what is our niche? Because at Amplify, we want to complement what others do in our region, not compete. And so as we began that research and kind of through that journey and our conversations with David, which I can't wait to introduce to you, many of you already know David Ponraj, we discovered that tourism, in many instances, incubators that are most successful capitalize on the expertise in their community. The expertise of our community is servicing our visitors, delivering an exceptional tourism experience. And so we are launching a tourism incubator in that regard. So, but as we talk about tourism, I want you to think outside of the box, not that traditional part of, coming for vacation, visiting, staying for a week with your family. Obviously, that's an important part of our community as well. But we want to think additionally about those non-traditional forms of tourism, sports tourism, medical tourism, ecotourism, all the other pieces, innovation in the transportation industry, all the things that touch tourism and non-traditional tourism as we know it and where we can spur innovation in our community. The exciting thing is that there's not another tourism incubator in the state of Florida, so we would be the first, and that alone has already gotten a lot of attention and excitement. So we're very excited about the opportunity. We're excited to be here in front of you tonight and make this request. I'd also like to introduce David Ponraj at this time. David is an SPC graduate. And he has done incubators all around the world, or all around the country. Big vision there for you, right? All around the country. So we engaged the experts in this conversation. We recognized that we needed a good partner in this. And David and his team have been absolutely exceptional and been supportive of this. And I can't think of a better person to go forward with as I watched him do this around the nation. Many colleagues that I have around the nation have had relationships and have done similar projects together. And it's exciting that this will be the first one in his backyard. He lives here, he owns a business here, has invested here, but this will be the first project that he will do in our community. So very excited with that, David.
Thank you. David Ponraj, CEO of Economic Impact Catalyst. Good to see you again, Mayor, Vice Mayor. They were there recently for our 5-year anniversary and to open our new offices here in Clearwater. So excited to stand here and kind of share a little bit about the incubator. Like Amanda said, we work with economic development agencies across the U.S. to help economic activity in their local communities, looking at things like incubators, accelerators, helping with programs for small businesses. So I'm going to share a little bit about this program here with you today. Perfect. So this incubator is going to spur economic activity in the region by providing small businesses and entrepreneurs with tools and resources needed to grow their businesses. It will also amplify the unique richness of the region's tourism assets to generate new ideas and business opportunities for our citizens. It will also attract global talent and cutting-edge innovations to our region to find solutions to emerging ecological challenges, and it will foster an environment of collaboration, working with local community organizations, mentors, philanthropy, public and private organizations. We've already gotten a lot of excitement from organizations like the local community college here, SBC. Also, we can partner with SBDC, USF with their Connect Incubator and others. So there's a lot of benefits to starting something locally here that doesn't already exist. And talking a little bit about the design of this incubator. So this is completely free to join for businesses. There's no fee for them, but they'll have to meet eligibility criteria. They'll have to start a business in the industries that spur economic activity through tourism. They'll also have to meet stage and type of business criteria to be able to join this. But for businesses that might not qualify or not ready to qualify, we're also doing monthly boot camps, or these are like sessions that allow them to get the tools needed, financial statements, to talk about things like customer discovery and product market fit, so that they can then apply if they're not ready to apply or if they don't fit the criteria. So there's no. If they don't fit either of these, there's also other organizations like SBDCs and others that we can refer them to locally. This is facilitated by local mentors and experts in the community that come and can share their experiences with businesses that want to start here. And also businesses that go through this program are incentivized by cash awards at the end when they do demo days, which is very typical for incubators and accelerators locally and nationally. There's an incentive for them if they make it through, do a pitch and are judged by their peers and experts and are given awards. But also every business that goes through this receives incentives that allow them to start their business or to be able to find cheaper access to programs. Talking a little bit about the economic impact of something like this in the community. This spurs new job creation, helps these businesses grow. You see that businesses that are 2 years or that reach 2 years, that's only about 50% chance of survival. So an incubator like this creates a much greater rate of survival for small businesses. It also supports industries locally. We can, as people come here already to experience the region, it can spur things in travel tourism or healthcare, climate change, sustainable development, sports, marine, life sciences, and many others. And also, one of the hallmarks of this incubator will be to create an inclusive, equitable access to business owners all across Clearwater and to all the citizens of Clearwater. So the D&I metrics of this program is really important to us to make sure that it is available to everyone. And when somebody is not ready, working with partners like SPC to make sure that they are ready and can qualify for a program like this. Talking about long-term sustainability of this program, that's a question that's frequently asked: what happens after the initial seed investment from the city? Even local incubators here in Tampa Bay region are supported by organizations like Nielsen. So Nielsen supports the Tampa Bay Wave Diversity Incubator. We've had interest in past from organizations like Tech Data. So it's not uncommon for the local private sector to fund this. There's also EDA, USDA, and other federal dollars available for programs like this. And then, of course, there's the community foundations, which are very typical as we look around the country. A lot of the incubators we work with, there's a lot of public and private support to fund this. The seed money actually creates the stories we can tell to attract the money into the incubator, but that seed money actually just helps us get started. And I'll close by talking about why a need for an incubator now. There's never been a time like this for small businesses. There's so many federal programs available. There's this CHIPS Act that helps with investing in small businesses. There's the new Tech Hub program. There's Build to Scale. We're seeing this all across the country. Clearwater can benefit from those investments. And there are also real local challenges, thinking about things like the algae bloom, or looking at traffic congestions during spring break, or looking at beach erosions, etc. These are problems we can solve locally as our businesses. There's also a lot of innovation in this space. AI, robotics, there's life science innovations, and our region can benefit from this. But I'll say the most important reason why we should do this is, I'll tell you something personal about my own story. When I came here from India, I tried to start a business right here in Clearwater, and I thought I was like the ultimate hustler. I was pounding the beach stores every single day, selling fair trade products, and it was the hardest thing ever. And after years of trying, that business couldn't get off the ground. And what shocked me was that I was coming to the land of milk and honey, that anything could succeed here, coming from India. But that rude reality woke me up to the fact that we do need resources for small businesses. And if we had this incubator back then, that business could have survived. So there is a personal motivation for me to help start this incubator, because it can change the lives of many small businesses here in Clearwater. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any questions right now for these individuals? Yes, sir.
Not a question, just a remark, David. I didn't realize until you got up here to talk that we met at the ribbon cutting ceremony.
That's correct.
And I said, you should talk to Amplify, and I got some information on.
Thank you, Councilmember. Here we are. Thank you.
I guess I can't stand in your way now.
That was a connection that spurred this,
Yes,
and the very first
100%.
conversation.
That's a fast turnaround.
It really is, isn't it?
It's all your fault.
You had a great idea.
Yeah. Any other questions or comments while they're here? Yes.
I have a comment. As you know, I was missing from this work session, so I was watching it live, and I was very excited because I have been on record talking about Band-Aid effects, right? Our tendency to address challenges as they happen. This, to me, is preemptive, right? Preventative care. The educating of small business owners and giving them the tools to succeed. And Ms. Denise gave us some great stats on that. And I'm glad that this is going to be available to small businesses, because it's the backbone of America. It accounts to 64% of the new jobs. Small businesses are more innovative. For example, in the patent industry, I was just doing some research, and in small businesses, they are 16 more times more innovative than the large firms. So to have an incubator, first of its kind in Florida, first of all, it's icing on a cake, to me is an invitation for great talent and great innovation. So thank you so much. This is a great marriage. And I know that there are some that might be taken aback that this is about tourism, but this is a great marriage between using what we've got and what we're good at and responding to future needs and trends. The future is tourism. It will be the #1 industry in the next couple of decades. And now let's look at the Gen Zs and the millennials. Look at what they prioritize, right? 74% of them prioritize in their budget leisure travel. And when asked, 84% say that they would rather go to a great vacation than a luxury item. That's not what we would do, but that's what they would do. And so you are planning for the future. You're being proactive and responding and adapting to the new world. So this is exciting to me because it is preemptive. So I support it full-heartedly.
Thank you. Other questions or comments right now?
Can I ask one question?
Certainly.
We're talking about medical tourism. I always think of that as leaving the country to get away from the high prices in the U.S. What type of medical tourism would be happening here in Florida?
I can give you an example.
It was a no.
Can I give you an example?
Okay.
Okay. So let's say you're having a procedure in Wisconsin when it's -25 outside and you need 2 weeks to convalesce. Where would you convalesce? Clearwater. And
Okay.
we have great medical resources here. Our professionals are top-notch. So that's a great avenue as well.
Ortho profession, I mean, you see a lot orthopedics in terms of total joint replacements. You have a Medicare population that's portable, that can take those benefits anywhere. Come here, have your joint replacement here. We have world-renowned surgeons in our Bay Care facilities. Come here, have the joint replacements done here, sell it as a package, recover here, rehab here, spend your dollars here, and then go home.
You sold me. I'm going to have my health care.
And then we talked about sports. We have all these great sports facilities in the area. Talk about possibly cultural. There's all kinds of different tourism out there that need to be explored, and they can really complement what we're doing. Timing's everything. They passed this out at the TDC meeting the other day. It's a little visitors, a little residents handout so they know what tourism means here. $11 billion annually in tourism, $353 every second. Calendar year 2022 visitors exceeded $6.7 billion and created over 109,000 jobs. 109,000 jobs is 22% of all the working people in Pinellas County. By far the #1 industry. Now we talk about other industries and they're all important, but tourism, that's our cash cow. We need to keep it going strongly. A bed tax generated more than $94 million. Of course, Clearwater's way up there. Everybody else is way down. And that's why we deserve a lot more of that bed tax money, which yours truly is working on for different things. So the timing is everything for this. And, I support this 100%. And I think it's a great resource and a great tool to have. And I'm sure we'll see some successful businesses coming out of it. And anyone from the public want to speak to this item?
I think, wait a question.
Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry.
That's okay. Thank you. I'm excited about, the incubator as well, and certainly celebrate the fact that you've talked about diversity and ecotourism. I think that's really important. So I had a couple of questions, though, really to look at more closely at the finances and the obligation of the city. And so do you have an expected cohort size? Like how many per so you're going to have 2 10-week programs for the year? Okay, the expected cohort size is about what? 10 people? Yeah. Okay, and then you said that there is no cost to participate.
Correct.
And they can receive up to, for each you're going to spend $60,000 on award money for the 2 cohorts, right? It's $20,000 for a first place and $10,000 for a second for each cohort?
That's the design, and we will be fundraising for that. In all the other incubators we've seen, we have local organizations that want their logo on the program, want to speak at the program. Even the local one in St. Pete, St. Pete Pitch Night, just for a pitch, they get $5,000 sponsored by one of the banks, one of the local banks. I can look it up. But we have seen it very easy to get a bank or a local organization to fund it. So that's the plan, because that incentivizes the business for the time they have put towards the cohort, and that will be seed money for them for some of their work.
So I just wonder, where is their skin in the game? If they're not paying for anything or giving any percentage of their company or anything like that, where's the sense of ownership and dedication?
It's in the competitiveness of the application process. So our goal is to make this highly competitive, where we want to see at least 50 businesses apply to each of these cohorts, and the competition and the incentives they receive as being part of this is what makes sure that there is skin in the game for them, and that's part of our interview process, to understand why should we select them over other business owners. What we found is that when you have a pay to play, it excludes the poorest of the poor, it excludes people we want to include. And so this levels the playing field and maybe even tilts the playing field in favor of people that can afford this. And that's why we have shifted towards a no cost. There are other incubators in Tampa Bay that have a fee to join, and I think that excludes some of the brightest ideas because they can't afford it.
Okay, that sounds great. So I have a few questions from your financial page plan on page 36. So you've talked about it's, normal, usual, and kind of accepted that there will be accompanying public funds to support these incubators. So, what type of local grants, because you have, I think you have federal, state, and local grants. What type of local grants are you expecting to receive? You mentioned like the community foundations, but I'm just going to be upfront. Like, do you expect long-term financial support from the city of Clearwater?
We don't.
Okay, just the startup, and then you're good.
That's correct.
Okay.
The reason was we wanted to start now, and if we were going to fundraise, we would not be able to start now. So this allows us to be able to get running and use this period to showcase the talent in the region, because it's a lot easier with data to go out after these big corporations and get them to finance.
Right. And if you're talking about, showcasing, courting, mentoring talent in the region, are you asking for support from local surrounding municipalities?
So I actually have spoken to both Pinellas County Economic Development Director, Dr. Johnson, as well as Brian Loack, our interim CEO of Visit St. Pete Clearwater. Both are very positive and excited about this as well. So I think we'll see some support come from both of those parties, and involvement and partnership as well. So I think from a local support system, I think, and municipal government, that's where we will target. I think there's other private foundations. So a lot of your business partners have private foundations that they can give to C3, and this will, and to support these kind of programs that aren't traditionally given in other ways. And so looking to a lot of our corporate partners through their foundational giving opportunities to support the program.
Great. But you're not like approaching St. Pete or Largo or Dunedin right now? Okay. And then under expenses, you've got your kind of the business plan sketched out. You have salaries and wages are listed at $150,000. So I'm wondering, like, how many employees you plan to dedicate to this, and are you paying instructors, mentors? You know, that seems really low to me.
So we're expecting the mentor community to do this pro bono. A lot of the business owners that facilitate and provide expert mentoring, there's already a group that is ready to mentor through the chamber. And so that should not be a paid model, because then again it creates the wrong incentives. It's really giving back to the community for the success they've seen. This is purely administrative stuff.
Okay. And then, you know, I do have some concerns. While I appreciate that we have some opportunities to expand tourism, especially ecotourism, sports tourism. I didn't really even understand medical tourism, like coming to rehab, but I'm thinking coming to rehab isn't creating a lot of big jobs here. And what I get concerned about is that narrow focus on tourism. While there are opportunities to expand, I think there's also value in diversifying our economic base. And so, you know, if we do fine with this incubator and then you all want to diversify a little bit, that might be good. And then...
We're always open to growing.
Oh, sure. Sure. You know, and having satellites, you know, and having, you know, your location on Fort Harrison is good, but a satellite near, you know, SPC or, you know, in the community that you want to...
We have big plans. We've thought through some of that, just so you're aware. Some of those things are on our radar, but we want to take it one bite of the apple at a time.
Sure. Oh, sure. And then I have two little questions. So one is, I thought I saw somewhere when I went through this over the weekend, and then I went through it, you know, more recently, but do you have yourselves Amplified listed as an SBE somewhere? Are you guys a SB, Small Business Enterprise, or?
We are not.
Okay, I didn't, okay. I mean, I love seeing all the women leadership. That's like great. Okay, and then the last one is, what can I do as a council member to help that incubator, your incubator, be successful?
We'd love to.
Besides writing a check.
Well,
you know.
thank you for that. We appreciate that. We'd love to have your involvement. I think having the support of this council, having your involvement, knowing the business owners in our community, supporting the business owners in our community, sharing their stories, because that will be part of this, is kind of sharing their stories and rallying around them in terms of a community and excitement. We just would love to have your involvement.
You could all be cheerleaders for
Yes.
us in telling the stories of the Clearwater businesses. That's huge, and it's always the storytelling that captures the imagination. So, and then of course coming and mentoring the cohorts.
Great. I did remember one. You talk, because when we talk about the key performance indicators and the measurements here, so this is like on page 41, but you don't have a date, a timeline, like is it 3 years post, business survival rate, you know, graduates from the incubator and continue operating and growing in the market will be an indicator of the incubator's support and effectiveness in nurturing sustainable companies. Are you thinking, is it like a 3-year time, that if they're still going strong at 3 years or growing?
We can measure this against the SBA baseline for business success rates. We found that when you have businesses go through an incubator and when you match TA, technical assistance, with capital, the survival rate goes up to like 80%. So this incubator can be measured against both the SBA baseline and against the national baseline for companies that go through and don't go through incubators. But that's our vision, is that you almost double the success rate of businesses that go through the program.
And so you're gonna start your first cohort in October?
Second.
And then the second one is in the spring, April?
April 15th or something.
Okay, so can you come back in the fall and give an update, next fall,
Would love to.
like a year?
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that'd be great.
Okay, anything else? Anyone from the public want to speak to this? Yes, sir.
Good evening, City Council members. My name is Suresh Sandarajan, but I go by my nickname Cal Tiger. I'm a resident of Clearwater. I'm a local software entrepreneur, and I'm also a certified Chat GPT engineer, prompt engineer, which means that we work with AI a lot. I represent Makerspace Pinellas, a community-operated makerspace, which has about 35 members at present, and they pay us only about $50 a month. But, you know, we are, I wouldn't say, we're not exactly profitable, but we're ongoing, sustainable, okay? And we're supported by our members as well as our founders, including myself. We put in some startup capital into this, and, you know, thankfully we're operating, you know, with, we're keeping our heads above water. Now, I've also been endorsed by Google for the makerspace concept that I had a number of years ago, so I really understand this business. I'd like to take just a few moments of your time to talk about this ARPA, which stands for the American Rescue Plan Act. I think you guys are familiar with this thing. I'd like to talk about ARPA, AI, incubators, and jobs. The total ARPA budget, as I understand it, is something of the order of $1.9 trillion or something, either 1.8 or $1.9 trillion or $1,900 billion. The city of Clearwater has received a grant of $23 million, which is the number that I came across. And I think one of the things you want to address as city council members is unemployment. You know, I can see, you know, when you all probably use this ChatGPT, tools like ChatGPT can cause mass unemployment. You have roughly 1,800 people on your city budget. You know, it's quite conceivable that 1/3 of these people will be out of jobs within the next 2 years. So what I'd like to propose to you is an incubator where you can have a tech incubator very much like YC, which is the Y Combinator in Silicon Valley. The same people that came up with ChatGPT, you know, which was taken over by Microsoft for, you know, some $10 billion or something. We would like to request you to fund a tech incubator, and we're happy to work with anybody else who has a tech incubator plan in mind. And we'd like to see if we can facilitate some connections with the, say, SPC College. We'd love to work with SPC College or any other entrepreneurs, you know, like the gentleman that was here before. Here's what I think we can do with this incubator concept. We can create 1,000 jobs, you know, for virtual assistants, you know, right here in Clearwater, and bring an economic impact of, say, $80 million to $100 million within 2 years. And all you have to do is provide us a small grant. We already have existing spaces. We have roughly about 1,500 square feet of space. I have 2 operational facilities, one in Clearwater on Range Road, and then another one on, you know, Belcher.
Thank you, sir. Well, someone will, Ms. Sanderson will let you know what the process is, okay?
Good.
Yes, I did.
She'll get back to you, let you know what the process is. Okay, thank you. Anyone else want to speak to this item? Okay, if not, do we have a motion?
I move to approve agenda item 9.1.
Second?
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Unanimous, thank you. Okay, let's go. Let's see, where are we here? We're 9.2, please.
Approve a street name change from Wistful Vista Drive to Chabad Drive and adopt resolution 23-11.
Good evening, Mayor.
Good evening.
City Council, City Manager, City Attorney. Chabad of Clearwater respectfully requests the City of Clearwater to approve the name change of the adjacent road to their property from Wistful Vista Drive to Chabad Drive. Right after I received the written request, I received a phone call from Rabbi Levy. He was very compelling. He was very thorough. He knew exactly the path that I was going to take to approve the name change. He made it very simple, quite honestly. He pointed out, and I also confirmed through the post office, no other businesses or person use Wistful Vista Drive. I confirmed with Pinellas County. No other landowner is residing on Wistful Vista Drive. I then spoke with the adjoining neighbors for the few properties that did adjoin the property but not attached to it. Nobody had any concern whatsoever with the name change to Chabad Drive. During our conversation, Rabbi Levy had mentioned that on August 27th, they were going to have a ceremony for the name change. At that time, I realized this should be a precedent. I made this a priority, and we're here right now because I felt he just warranted this level of degree. At this time, I respectfully ask by Chabad of Clearwater, the City of Clearwater, to approve and request and adopt Resolution 23-11.
Thank you. Anyone from the public like to speak to this item? Do we have any questions or comments? Yes, sir.
Just one. I understand we've been mispronouncing the name, and our illustrious attorney. How's the street name pronounced?
I believe it is pronounced Chabad, but, I was not going to say anything.
Well, we want to be right.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
No,
Okay.
not
Thank
an
you.
insult.
Thank you.
Learn something new every day.
Any other comments or questions? If not, do we have read the ordinance?
Mayor, we have a resolution number
Resolution,
23-11. It is a resolution of the City of Clearwater, Florida, renaming the street Wistful Vista Drive to now Chabad Drive from the southwest corner of South Belcher Road and Bel Air Road due north to the east entrance of Wistful Vista Drive, ending the adjacent parking area signage as such within the city limits of Clearwater pursuant to Section 28.02 City of Clearwater Code of Ordinances, providing an effective date.
Okay, now do we have a motion?
I happily move to approve agenda item 9.2.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Unanimous. Thank you. 9.3, please.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Approve issuing customer credits, refunds for recycling service charges for the period of July 2022 through December 2022.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members. I appreciate your time this evening.
Joel's coming in a second.
Joel to save you.
Prepared to just.
That's okay. He's got it.
Joel to the rescue. Thank you. So during Monday's work session, we gave I gave an update on our Clearwater recycling program. So I'll go through that somewhat quickly and kind of skip towards the end, which is the reason for this agenda item primarily. So as I mentioned on Monday, the Solid Waste and Recycling Department is following the new strategic plan that was adopted by City Council earlier this year. We fall in under the environmental stewardship section, and the specific language of adopt renewable resource usage and waste reduction practices to ensure a vibrant city for current and future generations. And kind of our role as a city within the framework of the county. I know members of the audience earlier touched on the landfill, and I brought that up during the work session as well. You know, recycling is a big key to ensure we have the longevity of our landfill. The waste-to-energy plant can keep up with the solid waste that's being generated throughout the county, not just within the city of Clearwater. So, touching back on this again, in early January, a lot of the management changes were made within solid waste. We started taking recycling back to waste management. So, in approximately November, that was the end of when there was issues with waste management and handling the recycling. So that process was restarted again in January under new administration. The department worked with the city manager's office to try and get short and long-term solutions in that respect. So we had a temporary agreement with waste management to process the recycling at $150 a ton with no revenue sharing. During that time, we were only able to recycle about 1/3 of the single stream recycling collected. Reasons for that are contamination, which I know people have brought up as well, processor limitations within their plant, and then also, which was touched on earlier, was one of the transfer vehicles was inoperable. As I mentioned Monday, and I know my director Kervin mentioned earlier during the Waste Connections agenda item, we do have a plan for another truck in our capital expense plan for 2024, and we do have the backup facilities within the transfer station. We maintain, I think it's 6 tractor trailers at our transfer station to move solid waste, so we do have that ability when we need it. In mid-March, we switched over to Waste Connections. Waste Connections was able to offer us a rate of $125 a ton, representing a $25 a ton difference for the processing. That switched over on March the 7th. We kind of continued working on those long-term solutions, culminating in April with the eventual RFP and requesting for single-stream providers. 100% of the single-stream recycling collected is being sent to our third-party processor, Waste Connections. That is a far difference than what was going on previously. And then the other thing to take away is we're currently averaging about 4 to 5 loads per day of single-stream material moved to Waste Connections in St. Pete. So I'll touch on this. Thanks to the direction of the city manager's office, we're operating the recycling dashboard that is being updated monthly. Data is being provided about the 10th of the month to ensure transparency with our residents and our public. And you can kind of see the chart sloping quite upwards after a dull period from July to December. So keep those periods in mind, July to December. What is ahead? We're currently working on operational efficiencies with our third-party consultant, Kessler Consulting, on route software. The department is a bit outdated in that they're still using manual written route books. So we definitely need to step forward into the, I would say 20th century, but definitely 21st century as well. So we're working with them to try to hire someone to implement this technology memo to get that routing software in place. And then I'll touch on, I know Pinellas County is operating public forums to address their recycling ordinances for solid waste. In unincorporated right now, it is not mandatory for their residents to recycle. So that puts additional burdens on the county as well. All right, so credits or refunds. So that time period that I mentioned from the dashboard, July of 2022 to December of 2022, we did pay to dispose of all of that material. Unfortunately, it wasn't recycled. The other point we will bring up is that a residential customer, as of this fiscal year, was paying $3.38 a month for their recycling. So we looked at options for basically a full, as if we didn't even pick up anything July through December and dispose of it whatsoever. So that would be a full rate credit. And then we also looked at what we call the disposal cost. So that's the difference between what we were paying a processor and the tipping fee at Pinellas County. The tipping fee at Pinellas County is $47.75, soon to go to $51 a ton in fiscal year 24, so almost 7% increase. So first up, the $3.38 a month would be approximately $20.28 if we were going to refund exactly what they paid in that time period. And we put that, commercial and multifamily, they're a little bit different because they vary based on the size of their container, the frequency of their container that's being picked up. But doing some estimations, an all-in estimated credit would be about $1.1 million using last year's kind of rates. That said, we're kind of recommending that we start this October 1st, and we would essentially make the rates for recycling zero. By doing that, that ensures more of a lower administrative burden on staff than going back and literally looking in every single individual account, of which we have thousands. The other piece of this is we have our municipal partners with Bel Air and Safety Harbor. So they have since stopped using us for their recycling processing. So for them, it wouldn't be the opportunity to say give them a credit or charge them $0 for 6 months. So for them, the numbers that you see would not change. So it would be a refund to the town of Bel Air for $14,120.42, and Safety Harbor $62,925.63. The reason for the large discrepancy is in the town of Bel Air, we were actually picking up their curbside recycling, so we're not giving those costs back because we did pick up that material, it just wasn't processed. All right, so then another option was, like I said, to look at the cost of disposing recycling versus that tipping fee. In that scenario, the difference would only come out to about 81 cents a month per residential customer. So kind of by those 6 months, you're talking about a little bit less than $5. Same thing, commercial and multifamily would vary based on their service and those tipping fees. So we were kind of estimating an estimated credit of $177,000. So that's almost 10% of what a full credit would be. And we think that the best approach to earn back the trust of our citizens and be good stewards moving forward is to recommend that full credit refund. And with that, I'm available for any questions.
Questions or comments up here? Anyone? Okay, anyone from the public want to speak to this? Please identify yourself for the record.
Kathy Flaherty, and I hope you guys can hear this. Basically, I think the refund should go back to 2018 because that is when you guys first knew of the problem and the administration has done nothing to resolve it, so.
What's up, everyone? Welcome to Your with Adrian. I'm Adrian, and that's Benji.
Hold on.
And today we have an awesome, there's tons of recyclables dumped in the trash and then burned every month. IT reporter Jackie Calloway first uncovering Clearwater incinerating your recycling. Well, tonight, the city says it's now moving quickly to fix this problem.
This was in 2018.
In September, 28,000 Clearwater residents collected more than 1 billion pounds of material to be recycled. But the audit team found that close to 40% of all that recycling wound up in the trash and incinerated.
Did you realize the problem was as bad as it was until you saw our story? The story actually helped us, bring light on the subject that we need to move a little more quickly.
Mayor George Creticos brought up the issue at a recent city council workshop after seeing our story.
What are we doing to try to remind the public of its responsibility?
In September, Solid Waste Director Merle Gloucester told us they burned so much recycling because people dump garbage in their recycle bins.
This is good, this is good, this is good.
Gloucester pledged to have solid waste workers start picking the trash out of the recyclables after we started asking questions. But when we went back 3 weeks later, our cameras caught city recycling trucks headed straight to the incinerator.
We were told on camera that the sorting would be taking place with every load, and we found that's not the case.
If 30 or 40% of the load is contaminated, it just makes more sense to us to take it directly to the incinerator.
The mayor says Clearwater is planning a public awareness campaign targeting the areas where residents are throwing trash in with the recycled materials.
They're going to go to those neighborhoods, even if it has to be door to door.
Clearwater officials defend incineration as an acceptable form of recycling because the Pinellas plant powers about 40,000 homes. Now, I checked with Pinellas Park, St. Pete, and Largo, and was told none of their recyclable materials
you guys do any programs to, like, to do the, you know, to make the people know not to throw stuff in, or do you just keep burning it? And then when it broke down, you just burnt more. And it went back to 2018, Jennifer. It didn't go back to 2019. Your Spidey detective said you missed 2 years. And you got a job out.
Anyone else want to speak to this item? Any response? Yep.
So specifically to Ms. Flaherty's delivery of what she interprets to have happened, it's a different issue. So what we found out that was occurring is that we were told by the then administration that we were recycling and that everything was going to waste management at that time. And that was not being burned. We're well aware of the history that we have on this, and staff was directed, this is prior to my time, but to fix that, and we thought that they had. We now know that they hadn't, so this wasn't a matter of council and or administration gave staff direction to continue to just burn all of recycling. That is not at all what occurred. Yes, we had contamination issues, and it is true then, it is not our truth now, that if there was a highly contaminated rate or load, that it would go to the incinerator because there is no reason to send that to recycling. And there were a lot of efforts that were made through our recycling team. We have a recycling coordinator that worked with the public to educate on how to do a better job to make sure that contamination didn't happen. We inspected loads to see where the contaminated loads were coming from and then diverted those so it wouldn't further contaminate clean loads that were at the transfer station. So yes, we were well aware and have not acknowledged that some, especially the contaminated stuff, was going to the incinerator, and that was appropriate to do so. County was aware of that, like all of that was aware and acknowledged and acceptable. What was occurring that was not acceptable is that we were told by the prior administration that we were taking all of the eligible recycling to our vendor to be recycled. And it wasn't until we had an employee come forward to say that wasn't occurring, it launched an investigation and found out that administration had not been truthful in what was going on. So that is the sequence of events that occurred. It's not a matter of that we're pretending we've never taken anything to the incinerator. What I think is important is I really want to acknowledge all the work that our current staff has done on this. We didn't shy away at all once we uncovered that there was a problem. Acknowledged it, came forward with it, and immediately took action to make sure that we would be the partner in recycling that we have claimed to be. And now we have a lot of measures in place to make sure that those kind of things aren't repeated. That's what the dashboard does. It's a way to keep us accountable to the public and to ourselves to make sure that, because those aren't manually inputted. Staff does not have an opportunity to manipulate that. We take the bills from our vendor, you know what I mean, and all that stuff is automatically updated, and we verified that. So this mistake will not happen again. It's something I said then that it was humiliating that to uncover, but the work that we have done to bring it to where it is today is a testament to the leadership that is out there. They have done a fantastic job. And I really, as embarrassing as this was, want to make sure that everybody understands that the commitment by the staff out there and the team and council to fix this. I'm happy to answer questions about it being 6 months, if it's needed, but I just wanted to speak to Ms. Flaherty's.
Okay. Any questions or comments? Yes, sir.
I've heard from residents as well who had the same concerns that Kathy expressed. It does feel a lot like a class action lawsuit where the lawyers get wealthy and those of us in the class action suit get a coupon for a free movie rental. Giving back $20, that's not even going to your pocket, but it's coming off your bills, doesn't seem like much, if anything. And we talked about this, and you were talking about the things that we are doing to make things better, like getting that third truck. We've got to do that. We've got to work on the infrastructure and do everything we can. But what do you say to the folks who, well, I mean, you went through some of it, but folks who aren't satisfied with the 6 months?
Well, my understanding it was still being picked up. Unfortunately, some of it just wasn't going to recycling. So we still paid to have it all picked up all the way back to 2018. So, and we found out there was a problem, and now we fixed it. Unfortunately, it took a while, but $20, $3.38 on your bill. That's all it is. It's not like you're paying $15, $20 a month for recycling. So that's what it is. Even if you made it a year, it would be $40. So, and from what the city manager and the staff has told us, a year's not warranted. It's 6 months based on what we really found out. So that's my 2 cents. And I came to this very late, obviously, getting up to speed on it. It's probably my fault according to some people here tonight, but that's all right. Yes, sir.
I'll just give you my 2 cents worth on this. Steve Sarnoff, that came up to the dais, he pretty much nailed it on the head. I mean, the recycling thing's a feel-good thing, but I can remember back in 2018, before COVID, when I took a trip out to solid waste and watched them come in with recycling trucks, and then we didn't have that real nice facility. They just dumped them on a slab of concrete, and you could hardly breathe. It was garbage mixed in with it, and they were picking through it, trying to get recyclables out of there. So we had a really, I brought it up on the dais, we need to have a really good campaign to tell people what's acceptable and what's not. Well, the truth is, even if you tell people, they're going to put stuff in there that isn't clean. That's just the way it is. And so that's why you need, we were sending trucks over to Tampa to Waste Management, and they were looking at it and sending it back. And that's a waste of money right there when they send it back, and then you got to send it over to the incinerator anyway. So I think maybe back then Earl and, the people in that department, and I'm not saying they did the right thing at all, but I'm saying they probably got so disfranchised with the whole thing, they just said, look, just send it all out there, and we won't waste any money, just go incinerate it until we can figure this out. But, the big thing was when China stopped buying the cardboard, there was no market in it. And that's what people, between that and the contamination, it's not a money-making business, it's a feel-good business. He nailed it right on the head. We're going to keep doing it because it's what we should do, but Jennifer caught it, turned it around. I give kudos to staff and her for when she found out, came right out and let everybody know, and this is how we're going to make up for it. Doesn't seem like much, but there's still a cost in picking it up, so I think we're doing the right thing.
Yeah, I agree. So, first of all, let me start off that I was pretty much new here, and I was so impressed with, first, the swiftness in which it was dealt with, and the level of transparency, which is, to me, important. Mistakes will happen. That's human nature. That's the only constant in this world. It's what you do after you make the mistake. And I think we did the right thing. We admitted it really quick, and it remained a priority until we found the solution, until we did a full investigation. And now that what's left to do is make it right. And I understand that there was a cost to picking it up, but there was also a cost to the person who recycled. And I think that's offset by the fact that we're only doing it for 6 months. So I do believe that full rebate for 6 months is in order. But again, I'm really, really proud of him, the way we handled it, because we could have just looked the other way or tried to hide it, and we didn't.
Okay, thank you. Anything else? Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I just wanted to say a big thank you to Solid Waste Director Kervin St. Ami and Solid Waste and Recycling Division Controller Jeff Cull for your presentation and your work in helping to do a deep dive on accountability and transparency in solid waste. I'm really proud that we have the dashboard up. I think it's our first dashboard. one of our first, if not the first, and that will help build back public trust and confidence. So I thank you for that work, and we absolutely support our solid waste workers. It is critical work for the quality of life in our city, as well as a large expense of our daily operations. So we are committed to getting this right. I'm impressed that you went from a $150 a ton with no revenue sharing with negotiation to $120 a ton with some revenue sharing. I think that's impressive. And, you know, in response to giving larger credits or further back credits, I mean, I think, you know, with the reality of, you know, you mentioned that gentleman who spoke was with the city and represented the union about challenges with waste, is that, you know, our landfills are going to fill up. And the fact is we don't have a large market for recycles. And so costs are going to go up. And so if you give larger rebates or credits now and we renegotiate next year, it may be even higher. So I think this is prudent. I think it's fair, and it's a good way, hopefully, to win back the trust and confidence of our residents. And I appreciate the residents who have given us some grace and time to get it right and to do the thorough research. So I'm ready to, you know, vote for it, what staff recommends for that credit, and move forward and be committed to transparency.
And before I call for the vote, I agree that it was a tremendous job negotiating, because we were not in the driver's seat. So to get that rate and to get that deal was very impressive, so good job. And also I saw in the video about that the former top person said, oh yeah, we're gonna have the solid waste people go through the trash cans and pull out, that's ridiculous. You can't do that, because you're pulling out stuff that's contaminated. The load's still gonna be contaminated. And to ask them to do that, that's just, so, I mean, to have that as a solution, I'm glad we came up with the solutions that we have, because you can't ask our employees to do that. It doesn't work. So anyway, all right, with that said, do we have a motion?
My turn?
Yep.
It would be. Move to approve item 9.3.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Unanimous. Thank you very much. 9.4, please.
Appoint an individual to fill an unexpired term through April 30, 2025 on the Public Art and Design Board and the resident knowledgeable in the fields of public art, education, or community affairs category through April 30, 2025. Council members, in your agenda packs, you had applications for Karen Cunningham, Lisa Bills, Matthew Estes, Rebecca Irvin, and Sharon Reed Kane. I would like to note that Lisa Bills and Rebecca Irvin are in the audience if you wish to ask any questions. They actually attended the meeting, so they are prepared to speak if you ask.
Okay. Any questions or comments?
David,
yes. Yes, sir.
Just to comment that every one of these are great. I mean, this was really difficult. I went through reading all their backgrounds, and I mean, I just want to say thank you. We got 5 great applicants for this board, and it was hard for me just to nail down the best person in there. But that's all I wanted to say, and we'll see how rest of us say.
Yeah, I was very pleased too to have such great candidates. It made it harder, but I was so pleased. I narrowed it down to 3, but then down to 2 because Miss Cunningham, I actually called Miss Karen Cunningham, who then told me that she would rather really focus on Coachman Park Arts Works rather than this board, so she's rescinded. She's told me that. So to me, then I kind of narrowed it down to Lisa Bills and Sharon Kane. However, Sharon Kane would be the 33761, whereas if we do go with Lisa Bills, that would be 3 in that zip code. So that's just a factor to consider.
Anyone else?
Well, I narrowed it down to those same 2. I would go with Lisa Bills.
Okay, anyone else have a nomination or a second on that?
I second Lisa Bills. I was thinking too, my second choice was Rebecca Irwin.
Okay, any other comment? If not, we have motion, yes.
Public comment.
Okay, anyone from the public want to speak to this? Anyone? Okay. We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Unanimous. Thank you. Thank you all for applying, and again, it was a difficult decision as has been articulated, and we appreciate everyone's interest in serving the city. Thank you very much. Okay, let's go to city attorney reports.
Nothing at this time, Mayor.
Okay, anything else from the city manager?
Yes, if I may, I just wanted to remind everybody that on August 19th, we are having the official signing of our sister city document with, and I apologize, I'm not good at this pronunciation, if anybody else wants to say it for me.
Pan.
Thank you. That was well done, much better than what I could have
I'm
done.
going to record that for my speech on Saturday.
But that is Saturday at 12 p.m. at the Trinity Presbyterian Church. That's all.
Okay, we hope to see you. I know that Councilmember Beckman cannot be there because she will be out of town. She sent a nice letter, so we appreciate that. I know they appreciate it. Okay, let's go right to left. We'll start with you this evening.
All right. Well, I wanted to start by saying thank you to the Church of Scientology for allowing the city to utilize the parking lot on the east side of Osceola for the library. I believe we have about 50, at least 50 spots there dedicated for the main library parking, and it's much appreciated. We've gotten a number of emails about the lack of parking for residents and patrons of the library, and now that's opened up, and for people who attend council meetings. I wanted to say thank you, too, to our city leadership, and namely that would be Jennifer, Kayleen Castell, and Jay Ravens, who attended the Clearwater Neighborhoods Coalition meeting, not this past Monday, but the Monday before. And it was a Zoom meeting, a virtual meeting, but it was really well attended. I think there were about 38 people there. But you all did a great job of kind of walking attendance through the budget process. And what I was most proud of was we started with a strategic plan, which is on the wall back there, which I'm super proud of. So the strategic plan that sets the priorities for the budget and for spending, and that filters down into departments, and then we have key performance indicators. That word was even used at the CNC meeting, key performance indicators that are tied to evaluations and dashboards. And it's just wonderful to hear those types of words that are about good governance and transparency, accountability, due diligence being used as we run our city. So I'm super proud of that, and it was really well communicated. And that kind of was on display too with our discussion about the recycling credit today. And then finally, and this is kind of most importantly for me, I wanted to say congratulations to the city of Ixmiquilpan, Mexico, for becoming our second official sister city. And as City Manager Jennifer Poirier said, that signing ceremony is on Saturday at noon at Trinity Presbyterian Church, right behind the Culvers on Gulf to Bay and Hercules. And it's going to be a lot of fun. I've witnessed a lot of their cultural celebrations with dance and music and food and the native dress, and it's really a lot of positive energy. Unfortunately, I'm going to be traveling, and I won't be able to attend, but I hope you can.
Thank you. Vice Mayor.
I will thank Scientology as well for the parking spots. And I also want to thank Leah Remini for launching a lawsuit against Scientology and its leader, David Miscavige, for all of the abuse and harassment that she's been facing for years. And I wasn't going to mention Scientology at all tonight, so thank you. I did want to say, as a former shop steward for IATSE, decades ago, I'm always happy to see union employees. And my dad spent his life as a spray painter in a factory back in Oshkosh, Wisconsin. He did that for 30 years, and we had a nice house on the corner lot. We we were doing fine with a, single family, single bread owner family, as most were at that point. He also wound up on an oxygen tank due to the work he did in those conditions. But still, unions are important, and I was sorry to hear that they feel unsafe talking to anyone. Well, you can talk to me. I've represented employees before. I will be happy to talk with you if you have something you need to say.
Thank you. You're up.
Okay, so let me begin by saying that I want to go on record aligning with the council's direction that was given to the staff regarding the decorum. I'm fully on board with that. Second, I am a member of the Tampa Bay Regional Planning Council, and this month there was 3 points that I would like to share with the rest of you guys. The first is the alarming trend or decrease of seagrass in the Tampa Bay area. 12-year, we haven't seen a loss like this in 12 years, since 1988. It hasn't been this bad, with the majority lost in mid-Tampa. However, Clearwater has shown growth. We're the only one that's shown growth. So I'm glad that the Tampa TBRC is focusing on these important issues. The other thing, too, is that we are partnering with USF because we are recipients of a grant, almost $1 million worth, to develop and implement plans for reducing greenhouse gas emissions and other harmful air pollution. So that is something that we're going to start pretty soon with USF. And then we also applied for the Economic Development Administration Disaster Recovery Supplemental Funding Opportunity to update our award-winning Hurricane Phoenix simulation, which simulates a Category 5 and helps us plan and be prepared. So I'm very happy how proactive TBRC is it TBRC? Hold on, let me see. I think I'm missing something. TBRPC. How proactive we are in being good custodians of our environment. Last but not least, I am so excited. We had our second employee appreciation karaoke. And I'm not going to name names because it might ruin our participation next time. So, but I will go according to departments. So my top 3, and I want to thank them: IT and HR by Cyndi Lauper, Girls Want to Have Fun, fabulous. Haunting rendition from Innovation for Radiohead, Creep. And the highlight of my night, Legal Department, Fergalicious by Fergie, awesome. So thank you to all those who came out. And then I also, as well, I could say T to the A to the S-T-E-Y. I mean, he sang it without looking at the prompter. And it was a full rap rendition. I mean, I saw him in a total different light. I like him so much now. It's awesome. It's just, it's such a nice way to connect as humans. Singing is fabulous. Okay, and then last but not least, I look forward to as well signing Saturday with our sister city. And I wish everybody a good night.
Okay, for the first time in the 39-year history of the Pinellas Suncoast Transit Authority, it has been honored with the nationwide Outstanding Public Transportation System Award. The award recognizes the agency across 12 areas, ranging from safety and operations to customer service and environmental sustainability. APTA, which is the American Public Transit Association, announced the honor last Tuesday. It was named the most outstanding public transportation system in the nation over a 3-year period, 2020 through 2022. PSTA won the award in the medium-sized division, which is more than 3 million but fewer than 15 million annual passenger trips. So real happy to see that PSTA got awarded that, and everybody's very happy about that.
Thank you.
Good.
I'm sorry I missed the karaoke. All those are on my playlist when I work out.
I'm going to hold you to it. You know I will.
So we were pleased to attend the Seminole Street, and I forget the lady's name, the home.
Oh, Audrey Hips.
Audrey Hips got a new home. I forget the name, the new name of the agency.
Tampa Bay Housing.
Tampa Bay
Coalition.
Housing Coalition, yes. It used to be something else that I know by with Icy Gully was there. But anyway, it's a 263rd home that they have opened over, I think, 4 decades. There's 3 more in development. We look forward to going there and welcoming those homeowners and greeting them and congratulating them. And I guess there's 3 or 4 more in the plan. So between them and Habitat, they're doing great work, and we appreciate that, and we look forward to a lot more of those. I talked a little bit about the TDC and this great little handout that they have for the residents, so everyone understands the importance of tourism in Pinellas County. There could be big things coming up. Janet Long is talking about taking the TDC away from the county and making it a private organization where supposedly there will be a lot more funding, similar to the Hillsborough model. Now, that is just initial discussion, but she brought it up the other day, so we will see. That could be exciting. Good meeting. I look forward to seeing everybody at the next meeting. Yes.
Tampa Bay Housing Services, not Coalition,
okay,
sorry. Just
sorry.
wanna make it
Tampa Bay
clear.
Housing Services.
Sorry.
Thank you, because I didn't remember what it was.
Yeah.
Anyway, good meeting. We'll see you next time.